Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market, people trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair, will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader, and will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027. So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi. Yo, and we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to get right into the media analysis. We're going to go ahead and start off on Fox News, reporting on Iran's, new missile range capabilities. So let's get right into that. But then also, let's not forget to double tap that screen like the video, and let's go ahead and get right into it, guys.
So there's growing concern of Iran's ballistic missile range after the regime launched an attack targeting Diego Garcia, a key U.S. and U.K. military base in the Indian Ocean, nearly 2,500 miles from Iran. Now, Prime Minister Netanyahu is warning other countries they could be targeted next.
If you want proof that Iran endangers the entire world, the last 48 hours have given it. They have now the capacity to reach deep into Europe. They already have fired on a European country. Cyprus. They are putting everyone in their sights.
All right, we got Joey Jones at the touch string to break down Iran's ballistic missile capabilities. All right, Joey, walk us through the range of their missiles.
Yeah, so they've been building missiles for a while. Really what we're going to focus on today is what I call the K4, because I can't say the K word. It's very long. It's hard to say. But basically, the last missile that they told us about was in 2023, the K4. And we thought its range was about, I think it was right at 2,000 kilometers. So it's not very far. And they even went so far as to say that, listen, we're not trying to go very far because we don't want the world to feel threatened by us. So here's Iran, and you can start to see the miles, which kind of roughly translate. But right here is what I want you to focus on, 2,500 miles. That's this outer ring here, right inside of it, just about 2,000 miles. Right, this is Diego Garcia. That's double the distance that we thought they could fire. So this K4 missile being the furthest that we know about, we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. This K4 missile being
So they pretty much exceeded our expectations with this K4 missile. And the problem with this K4 missile is that we believe this max range was about, what was it, about 2,000 to 2,500, kilometers. Kilometers or kilometers. But that's what we believed. Now, to our surprise, which is being reported, is that it actually went over that. It actually went about 3,000 or 4,000 out. And the problem with that is, we didn't know that. And that means that Iran's, capability to strike inside Europe is actually, be real with you, it's an actual possibility. We believe that all Iran could do is really strike out here in the Middle East, in this orange area. This is what we believed. And this is what we now see to be the outcome. But like I said, Iran is not really claiming that they shot it. They're not taking credit for it for some crazy reason. It would be in their best interest to take claim of it, but they're saying that they didn't do it. So we'll see what more comes out. But honestly, it's looking like Iran did it, and they're just not trying to show it.
Range of their missiles.
Yeah, so they've been building missiles for a while. Really what we're going to focus on today is what I call the K4, because I can't say the K word. It's very long. It's hard to say. But basically, the last missile that they told us about was in 2023, the K4. And we thought its range was about, I think it was right at 2,000 kilometers. Yeah. So it not very far. And they even went so far as to say that, listen, we're not trying to go very far because we don't want the world to feel threatened by us. So here's Iran, and you can start to see the miles, which kind of roughly translate. But right here is what I want you to focus on, 2,500 miles. That's this outer ring here, right inside of it, just about 2,000 miles. Right, this is Diego Garcia. That's double the distance that we thought they could fire. So this K4 missile being the furthest that.
Like I said, we thought that it was just this little orange circle right here. Otherwise, everybody else is safe. But if this is true and they're able to hit 4,000 kilometers, we got a problem. And here's the thing then, and that also means that, well, I guess Iran's been showing a decent restraint because they could have been hitting other military bases in the region a long time ago. And also what raises my suspicion as well is that, all right, well, then how come, like, then how are we moving out of their range when it comes to our ships? Like, what, you're telling us our ships are all the way over here, 4,000 kilometers away, shooting tomahawks that could only go like 2,000 kilometers? Like, come on now. So this is where I throw a little bit of suspicion into there. It's like, all right, so can Iran actually do this? But hey, we'll see.
We know about, we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. This K4 missile being the furthest that we know about, just went twice as far, or we think this is the one they used.
Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen and liking the video.
The big question here is we don't know what they used, and that's something we'll talk about in a second.
Well, interesting, Joey. The question really for me is, like, how do they actually launch them? How do they launch these things?
Yeah. So what's really cool, I've got a couple of pictures here that I want to show you. So they're zoomed in, so it's hard to see. But this is essentially a tractor and trailer. This is a truck with a trailer bed on it, with a missile on it. As you'll see, it's being raised. It's at about a 45-degree angle there. So what they do is this is mobile. So the word they use for it is called the Transporter Erector Launcher, the TEL. So this is what's really amazing. Well, this is what's really difficult about this. So basically, this trailer and that truck can drive out into the desert. You need another vehicle probably with some radar on it to get the coordinates right. But basically, it's mobile. It can be moved anywhere. The fuel used in the rocket is liquid. It's a little bit limiting on distance, but it's able to be stored and set somewhere for a long time. So this entire capability is about running around and being able to launch these from different places so that we can't just identify targets with intelligence and go after them. They can move. They can move in hours. They can move hundreds of miles and overnight. And so it makes it a little bit more difficult. Also, what this does is, this is very big, but there's a Russian version called the 3M54. The export version is called the Club K that can pretty much fit in a Connex box. So it can go in the back of a tractor and trailer. So if they're adapting that technology, or if they bought it from Russia, you have to assume every tractor and trailer in Iran is potentially.
I mean, here's the thing. That's like what, just 1,000 kilometers away from having an intercontinental ballistic missile. Right now, they have an intermediate ballistic missile, not an intercontinental, because what was it? I think that's like 5,000 kilometers. So yeah, they're about, like, if this is true, they're about 1,000 kilometers away from an intercontinental ballistic missile, and that, yes, would be a problem. And also, like I said, if this is their capability, once again, I mean, why haven't they been well, easily able to strike our ships? And also, why haven't been able to attack our military bases, well, all the way out there in Europe, which we have been attacking from, if they had this capability? I'm just throwing a bit of suspicion on it, because it's a bit, like, weird. I'm not gonna lie.
An anti-ship missile or something like this.
Joey, you said that we weren't aware that Iran had the capability to launch a missile this far. So what kind of rocket was launched at the Diego Garcia base, and is it different than the ones that we knew that they had?
Yeah, so I'm not going to pick on you on nomenclature here, but basically this is a missile. What makes it a missile is that the back half is a rocket. A rocket is a propulsion system. You point it in a direction, that's where it goes. It's not guided. the rocket has fuel in it, just like the Gemini space rockets, you know. And so what happens is this actually goes suborbital. I didn't show you on the last screen as easily. There's a screen in a minute I'll show you. This goes hundreds of miles above the surface, not into the atmosphere, above the surface. So the higher you launch it from, theoretically, the higher it goes. It goes hundreds of miles above the surface. When it does, this part here breaks off, just like we see with space program. And this part here, this is called the reentry vehicle, which encompasses the warhead. There's other words for it. And what happens is when it goes exoatmospheric, gravity's not as big of a deal, this breaks off, and what we believe, because they're not just telling us, is that this warhead, this reentry vehicle, exoatmospheric, has thrusters on it that orient it towards its target, and then it lets gravity do its job, and it comes back down. So the reason why that's important is what we know about this specific rocket, or this specific missile, which is the best one that we know they have, the K4, is that this is liquid fuel, which limits them a little bit on distance, but allows them to store it. And it's a single stage, which means once this burns up, that's as far as it goes. What we're trying to find out now, or what probably—
Oh God, do me a favor and double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's go ahead and get those likes up. Let's get more people on the conversation. Appreciate the support.
Probably people other than me know is if they added a second stage in here to get it further, or if it's actually a completely different reentry vehicle that has some sort of exoatmospheric thrust in itself. We're not really sure.
Hey, and shout out to my man Cap for Life. He sent a thumbs up for 10 joules. Appreciate the support, my brother.
How they got so far because of what we know about its motor. They call that a rocket motor. So that's what we're trying to figure out. Another thing is that Israel is incredibly tight-lipped with their post-blast analysis, their threat analysis after the fact. So when they get hit with these missiles, they don't always share that information with anyone, to include us. Hopefully this landing near Diego Garcia, we are recovering that and we're getting that information. It's not that Israel's a bad partner, it's that that's how they're able to keep things covert, because as you can see, our own Pentagon didn't want to share things with other allies either. So that's just kind of part of it.
So Joe, you kind of already walked us through how the ballistic—
You know what's so funny about that? Like, yeah, it is kind of crazy how we didn't inform our allies how we were going to attack Iran and possibly, throw the whole entire world economy into turmoil. Like, I'll be real with you. Like, it's kind of funny how he said that. And then when Trump was asked about it in his bilateral meeting with the Japanese prime minister, bro, he was like, well, like, man, sometimes you got to surprise people. Like, Japan, come on, you know all about surprises, which was, a little bit, unnecessary, but it was funny. But yeah, that is kind of bad on us for not informing our allies what we were going to do to Iran, knowing damn well that they had the potential to close the Strait of Hormuz, which, people inside the Trump administration was saying, but we're not heard. Obviously, look where we're at.
ballistic missile works, and we appreciate that because we hear all these things. And
hey, man, shout out to the love on Facebook. Appreciate that.
Civilians hear rocket, we hear missile, we hear all these different types, and sometimes it's hard for us to decipher which is which and what that means for us. I want to go back because you already explained kind of how it works. Can you go through the ballistic missile stages that you have on that screen there so that we can really conceptualize this?
Yeah, so I'm not able to draw on this screen, or I would add a little bit in here, but I want you to suspend your disbelief, use your imagination, because I'm going to teach you about how we intercept these. When they are launched, and that's what this is showing here, they actually go exo-atmospheric, so they go— this shows 500 to 1,000 miles. It depends on the missile. The missile we're talking about, we thought was like 150 to 500. So if it goes that far up, what have they done? One thing they could have done was just lighten the weight of the warhead on it and gotten more altitude that way. We just don't know yet if they actually have a better missile or if they modified this missile to where it has less of a warhead on it but could go further. So once it gets exo-atmospheric, then it breaks away. The rocket motor goes away. A couple other things happen that allows the reentry vehicle or the warhead, depending on what it is, to orient itself exo-atmospheric. And I know I've said that a lot, but I don't know a better word, a little bit further away from gravity and air pressure. And then it starts its descent back down. At this point here, it's locked on to its target and it's coming back down. The reason why that is important is it's like artillery. You decide where it's going down here. It can adjust itself a little bit up here, but it can't completely change where it's going up here. When it starts reentry, here it is. What they're saying is that this reentry vehicle has broken down into a warhead at this stage. At that point, that's when our THAAD system uses radar, generally where we think we're going to get hit. And that might be the first time we know that that missile is headed towards us. So it's this part here, when it's reaching Mach 8. It's already 8 to 16. So it's supersonic. And that's how much time we have to lock onto it over the radar and send THAAD towards it. And basically what it's doing is the computer is calculating, well, if it's here now and it's moving that fast, it'll be there in a few seconds. So we may be intercepting it way down here. Look at that big arc. And this is hundreds of miles high and thousands of miles wide. And in all of this arc, it's this section down here most of the time where we're finding it and intercepting it. One thing I know is that some of our THAAD radars have been hit. You take those radars out, now you've got a hole in your dome, in your gold, whatever you want to call it. And so the reason why that's important is some of these are guided in ways that one day we talk about hypersonic guided missiles. This point and shoot method may not work. So this is the evolution of defense. So when President Trump says he wants to raise all this money to put a golden dome over the United States, it's advanced technology from what we're doing now with the THAAD, something other than radar. If these things get the ability to change their target, change elevation and descent, become basically an unmanned aircraft on their way down, the ability to intercept them or take them out just gets so much more difficult. So the advancement of their missiles, that's a big deal. And when President Trump says, hey, they're advancing their missile program, he doesn't just...
Well, let's be real on this is what makes Trump's threat, which is, I'm gonna be real with you, today is the end of that threat. He said it on the 21st. They had 48 hours to open the Strait of Hormuz, and the Strait of Hormuz sadly has not been open. So yeah, it's game time. Let's see what happens. But yes, the Strait of Hormuz has still been closed. We'll see if Trump actually goes for their energy infrastructure. But if that's the case, then, well, apparently, excuse me, Iran has the capability to attack more than just the energy infrastructure in the Middle East, but possibly also in Europe as well.
Mean they can point and shoot further. He means what?
I mean, shoot, they can start firing into Ukraine and helping Putin according to the map.
What they're able to do once it's launched that makes it harder for us.
Oh, guys, man, I got about 30 of y'all in the vertical, man. Do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support. I know I got about 10 of y'all on X. Appreciate you guys. Let's keep it going.
To defeat it, that is a big
double tap that screen and like that video.
Deal. So I'm going to wrap it up this way. It's not as big of a deal that it went so far. It's how did it go so far? And what happened along the way that we need to study and find out. If they actually have missiles that we're not aware of, or that we don't know we're aware of, that only our IC knew about, maybe even a certain section of it, our intel community, then there might be a lot more justification for this war than we know or will know for a while.
Joey, thank you as always for breaking that down for us. I'm going to bring it back to the table as you make your way back over here. All right, Jason, that was obviously excellent for us to get that knowledge from Joey and break all this down, because we hear all these terms and these weapons and a lot of us don't really know what that all means, what it means to us and what it means to our allies. But, I think that this also makes the discussion right now that we're having with Democrats and between all of us of whether it was an imminent threat, whether Iran was actually a threat, or whether this was
Now, here's the thing about this whole imminent threat. Like, it kind of seems that the definition of an imminent threat is anybody who will retaliate if we attack them. And I mean, if that's the case, I mean, anybody's an imminent threat. I mean, bruh. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild how we're saying, well, they're an imminent threat because they're shutting down the Strait of Hormuz and all this good stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, but if you attack any country, they're going to become an imminent threat. I mean, that's just like a no shit. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. I honestly think that's just like a no shit type of analysis right there. Like, if I'm looking at it and I understand what could happen here, yeah, it's a no shit analysis.
Of choice, as Democrats keep repeating over and over and over again. But to Joey's point, as he expertly laid out over at the touchscreen there.
So, AKA, we can't just be out here saying that, well, if we just because we attacked Iran and they're attacking back, that proves that they was an imminent threat. I'm like, no, it doesn't. That just proves that, yeah, if you attack a country, they're going to become an imminent threat.
It would seem as though maybe they had more capabilities than we knew, or maybe than many wanted to believe.
Yeah, these armchair politicians don't see the most classified intelligence. They do that to keep it as safe as possible. Three things come to mind. Number one, there was a clear and present danger. There clearly was. The president does this reluctantly. He is the president of peace. This is what he wants. It's peace through strength. And it's making sure that we hit them before they hit us. Number two, thank goodness that Donald Trump had the foresight.
But then you can't call them an imminent threat. It's like making sure that we hit them before there was no proof that they was going to hit us. We didn't have proof that they was making a nuclear bomb. So it's just like, what? So like I said, they're basically saying Yeah, basically, if you hit us back, you're an imminent threat. I mean, that makes no sense because then anybody can be an imminent threat. I mean, what? You're basically saying that, okay, well, Ukraine was an imminent threat to Russia, but said Russia invaded Ukraine. Yeah, I know, but because they hit back, that they became an imminent threat to Russia. So everything's all good now. You see how that'll make no damn sense when you kind of, change the names?
To actually implement the Space Force. There is a war that is going on in space. We don't see it. Nobody's taking selfies with their Apple phones. The Space Force is vital to what we're doing into the future. And if you don't understand fully what's going on with the Chinese, the Russians, the Israelis, and others, then you are blind to what is really going on in the world. And the last thing is we have some amazing technology that was put in place previously. For instance, the middle of Romania, we have what's called Aegis Ashore. This is literally a Navy ship they put right smack dab in the middle, foreshadowing the idea that, the Iranians...
Oh, man, we got like 7 of y'all in the horizontal, man. Do me a favor and like the video. I'm talking to you guys in the horizontal chat. Yes, go ahead and like that video for me.
May want to try to hit somebody in Europe. And we have this type of technology on the ground to help defend Europe and American assets.
So all that to say, there's a lot more that goes on.
Yes.
Kaylee, I was thinking the other day when I was filling up gas, boy, I hope this is over soon, right? And I texted my parents, ouch, gas, it's hurting a little bit. And my parents responded, but nuclear, threat from Iran is probably more expensive in the long run. And, it's important to conceptualize that because as Joey laid out and as Jason emphasized there, the capabilities that they have or that they could create, that is an imminent threat to us, to our allies. And, as we're talking about this,
if we attack them, that's the problem here. That's the logic that they're missing. Yeah, if we attack them, they are good. They're going to become an imminent threat. So yes, if we attack their energy infrastructure, they will come an imminent threat to the energy infrastructure in the region. Like, yeah, no shit.
From President Trump, 48 hours, that's ticking on down. We don't know how long he'll actually give them. But then you've got Iran basically saying, well, we're going to FAFO.
Right. And we know that, President Trump does have a political incentive to wrap this up quickly. But he also has a national security priority to get it done, especially as Joey laid out, that they could very well have more than we are even aware of that could be capable of really disastrous work in Europe and even closer to the eastern seaboard. And I think that calculates into President Trump's decision here to hit Iran's power plants, to go after their electrical grid. And it's interesting. I've already seen this from some Democrats and some on the left who are complaining about how this would be an escalation and a violation of international law.
Yes, it would be, bro. Yes, this could possibly be a violation of international law because going after energy infrastructure, well, I'll be real with you, this is going to be the debate. Now, did bombing their energy infrastructure give us a military advantage, or did it cause more civilian harm? And this is what they're going to grade it on. All right, so did we get more of a military advantage more than it actually hurt civilians? And if not, if it actually hurt more civilians than we even got a military advantage out of, then I'm gonna be honest with you, yes, this is going to be seen as a war crime. And I'm not calling it a war crime, but I'm just telling y'all the arguments here. Because, attacking that energy infrastructure is not just going to hurt the regime. It's going to hurt, well, almost everybody in Iran. And if then Iran's going to make it hurt everybody in the Middle East and the world. So let's see where things go. I mean, I personally don't want Trump to follow through with his 48-hour threat. But if he doesn't, I mean, bruh, they're going to call him Taco Trump. They're going to make fun of him. They're going to make him feel like they're going to make him feel like he's a bitch. And well, we know just Trump ain't doing that. So let's be real. Let's just expect the strike. Let's just expect it because, well, we kind of know how Trump will acting at this point.
To be clear, an international law that allows Iran to shoot missiles at citizens at their neighboring countries but prevents us from doing anything to stop that is not an international law that...
Oh, God, do me a favor. I got like 20 of y'all in the vertical. Go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video, man. Appreciate the support. And you guys on the horizontal, go ahead and like the video. Just go ahead and press that button.
exists to preserve global safety. That is an international law that exists to cripple the good actors in this world. And what you're seeing now from President Trump is an American force that is unrestrained by that. For a very long time, and I'm sure that Joey can confirm this, we have been operating with one arm tied behind our back. President Trump is not going to allow that to happen anymore. So I do think you are going to see this expedited. You're going to see it wrap up quickly because he is releasing the American forces from that obligation.
You know, Joey, we've heard President Trump say that, this is winding down, and he said everything's pretty much been decimated. They don't really have a leader, and he's gone through all the success up until this point. But now we're talking about these missiles, and we're talking about maybe some capabilities that are a little more extensive than most of us knew of. Do you think that, given that, this is winding down, or what do you think it's going to take to end it?
I don't know. I find it interesting that the administration put out a list, Axios reported a list of concessions they're looking for. I don't know if that's posturing for diplomacy so that Europe understands, hey, we're looking in that direction. I think that there is a chance there are a lot more capabilities still in that country than we know about or can confirm or can locate. And I think that if we're this far along and we're getting that intelligence, we're figuring that out, there are still high value targets, I say keep bombing them.
Damn.
Real quickly, is this something we can all do from the air, or is a ground force needed to finish it?
This is what I'll tell you. I'm not going to pretend to be something I'm not. I'm not a general. I didn't go to the war college. I read The Bearman Over the Mountain. I read The Other Side of the Mountain. The Soviets spent a lot of money trying to take Afghanistan with airplanes and bombs, and those airplanes got brought down by relatively cheap, Sidewinder, shoulder-fired missiles or shoulder-fired rockets that we gave them. And so that eventually the Soviets had to give up because it cost them so much money. So right before that, they put in the tanks, but they weren't willing to send dead bodies home to mom and dad. So they didn't get out of the tanks. And without any sort of presence, they were never going to take Afghanistan. As long as we understand we're not trying to or able to take Iran or even change its regime, what we're trying to do is neuter it. Then you can do that largely from the air and diplomacy.
Love it.
No, we can't. No, that's delusional, bro. No, we got to put boots on the ground if you want to actually take out the regime. If you think we can do this, dude, just bombing them recklessly through the air, it's not going to happen. Actually, it's just going to make these guys double down. But all right, guys, it does seem like, well, this came in about 47 minutes ago. Israel launches extensive strikes on Iran with powerful explosions reported in Tehran. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Israel says it's begun yet another wave of airstrikes across Tehran. Explosions have been heard in the capital city. Other parts of Iran have also come under attack. An airstrike destroyed this residential building in the city of Urmia in the northwest. Rescue crews are looking for survivors buried under the rubble. They've also recovered bodies. Urmia is the largest city in Iran's West Azerbaijan province and is near the borders with Turkey and Iraq. And these are some of the latest images from Khorramabad in western Iran. An airstrike early on Monday hit a residential area. Several people are reported to have been killed and injured. A child is among the dead.
Damn.
Well, we're covering this story across several angles this hour with correspondents live in Baghdad, Hong Kong, Amman, Dubai, and Tehran.
Before we get into this, I mean, shoot, let's have a little fun, guys. Let's have a little fun. We got some of the cool ones in the chat. So let's go ahead and let's go watch this video here, right? So pretty much it was a little AI made video of what's going to happen if Trump go ahead and makes that move on oil infrastructure or energy infrastructure. Oh, let's see it.
Power plants explode into flames.
What?
Iran has drawn the ultimate red line. If their power grid is struck, they will unleash total hell. In the first savage wave, the IRGC unleashes a storm of ballistic missiles and massive drone swarms. Targets detonate in fireballs. Saudi Arabia's Ras Tanura and Abqaiq refineries erupt. UAE's Jebel Ali and Tawila power plants explode into flames. Qatar's Ras Laffan LNG terminal is shattered, and U.S. bases like Al Udeid plunge into darkness and chaos. Then, cyber strikes black out entire grids and communication networks in an instant. The death blow. Water desalination plants, the desert's last lifeline, are obliterated. Saudi's Jubail and Yanbu, UAE's Fujairah, and facilities serving 70 to 99% of drinking water for 62 million Gulf people. Israel suffers the same fury. Missiles hammer Orat Rabin power complex near Haifa, and the 5 giant coastal desalination plants, which supply up to 86% of the nation's water for 10 million people. The aftermath is pure nightmare. Over 72 million souls plunge into total darkness and deadly thirst. Cities become sweltering death ovens with no power or cooling. Hospitals turn into silent graves as ventilators fail and patients gasp their last. Water taps run dry, unleashing mass dehydration, raging epidemics, riots, and desperate refugee waves. Oil exports crash, igniting global energy meltdown. This is the terrifying reality Iran threatens. One strike could trigger an unprecedented catastrophe of biblical proportions.
Man, but apparently we just don't give a damn. Apparently we just don't care. But that's a possibility, but then, there's also the bright side of things where, they just give up, or somehow the regime just falls apart overnight and everything just works out our way. Like I said, they just double down and they completely take out all energy infrastructure in that region. And according to their new missile capabilities, now that I guess they got a longer range missile that we didn't know about, they could possibly strike other energy infrastructures, in Europe. That would also affect us. But all right, though, let's get back to Al Jazeera.
But first, Tauhid Asadi joins us live from Tehran. Tauhid, so what more can you tell us about these latest strikes in Tehran, where you are, and across the rest of the country?
Well, actually, in the Iranian capital, Tehran, last night in central parts, we heard the sounds related to the activation of the air defense system. Meanwhile, we have reports about the massive sounds of explosion being heard in the eastern and western parts of the capital. And beyond that, we know that in different other cities, we have been receiving reports about the continuation of the campaign of airstrikes by the Americans and Israelis. And of course, so far, we know that in more than 200 cities, we have witnessed such attacks. The latest comes with Bandar Abbas, where a radio station was targeted and one person said to be killed. Also in Khorramabad and Urumia, 2 residential areas were targeted, resulting in fatalities among ordinary citizens, which is not, unfortunately, something new. We know that more than 1,500 people have been said officially to lose their lives as a result of these attacks. We know that, seeing the ongoing nature of these strikes, we can estimate this number to grow further up, and we know that the number of injuries is also very much concerning. Again, speaking of the latest developments, we know that in Isfahan, Karaj, Ahvaz, sounds of massive explosions have been heard across those cities and other cities, such as Ahvaz, where we received a report about one hospital being impacted as a result of explosion.
Jesus. All right. It says what? Iran's Red Crescent, which is, it's like, what was it? Gaza's health ministry that nobody wanted to believe. Well, all right. This is pretty much Iran's Red Cross. Yeah. So Iran's Red Crescent says more than 81,000 civilian buildings have been hit during the U.S.-Israeli war. Yeah, that sucks. But I'm pretty sure those buildings were next to military targets. That's just how it works out. And I'm be honest with you, I can't really feel too bad about that. We are trying to finish up this war on the quick side, but to be real, let's not sit here and think that we're only hitting military targets. Civilian targets always get caught up, no matter what war is being waged on. To be real with you, any state, any country, everybody got houses, homes, schools near military bases.
All in all, we know that based on what we heard from the Red Crescent of the country, that more than 80,000 civilian units, most of them residential areas, houses and apartments, have been impacted, some of them fully demolished. And of course, that number includes hospitals, schools, academic institutions, and even the very buildings belonging to the Red Crescent.
Yeah, Tauhid, and the Revolutionary Guard says it will hit energy facilities in Israel if Trump makes good on his threat. Have we heard anything from the Iranian government yet, Tauhid?
Yes, indeed. This is a sort of a strategy, a sort of rhetoric, a part and parcel of what we have been hearing over the past few weeks, I would say that in case of any attack to any facility, the response is going to be retaliatory. It's going to be that of actually tit for tat strategy. And we know that over the past 24 hours, specifically.
Oh God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video. And if you're on the horizontal, just make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. Let's get more people on the conversation, guys. Appreciate the support. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud. Just go ahead and super chat it in. Or if you're on Rumble, you can go ahead and send a Rumble rant. Appreciate the support, guys. All right, let's go.
After the U.S. president came out with new threats to target the Iranian infrastructures, the response here from Tehran, both from the officials, politicians, and of course from the military side, has been that of defiance, deterrence, resilience, and retaliation. We heard from Pezeshkian, Iranian president, as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the headquarters for the the spokesperson for Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters, all saying that in case of such an attack, Iran is going to strike back with targeting actually infrastructures and other actually infrastructural facilities. And of course, this is adding a new layer of complexity into this already delicate situation, which sounds to be far from point of de-escalation. We heard from Ghalibaf, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf is actually the Speaker of the Parliament. He said that in case of such an attack, those financial entities that finance U.S. military budget are going to be quote-unquote legitimate targets.
Damn.
Also, Khatam al-Anbiya spokesperson says that there are going to be immediate measures in case of such an attack.
Yeah, so they're pretty much saying they're about to double down and be like, look, to our allies, if you guys are housing any type of military assets, we're going to strike you. No hard feelings. I know it sucks, ruining your tourism and all that good stuff. But you know, you're housing the enemy, and we're going to attack you guys for that. And this is what Iran is pretty much communicating, well, to the Gulf states. Now, will the Gulf states take this warning and attack back, or will they just sit there and be like, well, America, looks like we can't have you here, and we can't have you here at all, or we're going to have to dramatically reduce your presence. And that would just be leaning into what Iran wants. And we don't want that. We don't. But that's what could happen.
Masoud Pezeshkian almost echoes the same rhetoric and the far.
Thanks for the likes on Facebook, guys. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, guys, we're also live on Facebook now. So shout out to those guys.
Our ministry also says that this is going to be the response. And one more important thing that we heard from the Iranian side is related to the Strait of Hormuz. And they're saying in case of any attack to our infrastructures, as long as those infrastructures are being rebuilt, the closure is going to go on.
Tawhid Asadi, live for us in the Iranian capital. Tawhid, thank you.
All right, now let's go ahead and get into the next video here. Let me go ahead and find it right now. Is it this one? I hope it's this one. Let's see here.
Will be completely closed if US bombs power plants. Let's take a look at what has been happening so far. Iran fired more missiles at Israel, with at least one missile carrying cluster warhead seen in the night sky over Israel. Israel's rescue services say damage was caused at several locations in central Israel by cluster munitions or falling fragments following Iran's latest ballistic missile attack. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says the Strait of Hormuz is not closed. He said maritime traffic isn't passing through the strait because insurance companies are concerned about the war started by the U.S.
I mean, yeah, which is true. Nobody want to go through there because they're like, bro, first off, I mean, yeah, offering insurance doesn't mean that the insurance is going to be used. I mean, I think we should know that for insurance claims our damn selves and how we have to pull teeth just to get insurance companies to cover a claim. Fully at that, fully. So, yeah, offering insurance and you know, passage or guidance is not enough for these, well, captains or these ship and oil companies to take the risk. It's just not enough. All right.
Not because of Iran's actions. He added that further threats will not sway Iranians nor insurers. Well, this comes after President Trump threatened to target Iranian power plants if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened within 48 hours. Iran's Revolutionary Guard say they will completely close the Strait of Hormuz if US President acts on threats to target power plants. A statement from IRGC says companies with US shares would be completely destroyed if Iranian energy facilities were targeted by Washington, and said energy facilities in countries that host American bases would be lawful targets.
Mm-hmm.
US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says Trump will do whatever is necessary to achieve his goals in West Asia. Bessent said the United States may need to escalate its attacks against Iran to be able to win down the war. Israeli military spokesman Brigadier General said the country faces weeks more fighting against both Iran and Hezbollah in a televised briefing. The spokesman added that authorities are examining how air defense systems failed to intercept incoming Iranian missiles during Saturday's attacks. Israel will expand its ground operations in Lebanon against Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah, warning that the offensive has just only begun. Israeli forces earlier destroyed bridges allegedly used by Hezbollah to cross the Litani River. Lebanese President Jose...
And used by civilians as well, but I mean, F them. They've already displaced about over 1 million civilians in Lebanon. We're talking about Israel, and it's kind of funny how they popped this off at the same time they dragged us into, well, this Iran war. So it's kind of funny what Israel's doing right now, I'm telling you. Like, they're really trying to take southern Lebanon. I mean, I guess the Greater Israel plan is in effect.
Has warned that the bridge attacks represent a dangerous escalation and flagrant violation of Lebanon's sovereignty. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to pursue senior commanders of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, quote-unquote, personally. He made the comment while visiting an Israeli town of Arad and struck by an Iranian missile. Kataib Hezbollah, an influential pro-Iran Iraqi armed group, has announced that it would extend a pause on its attacks on the US Embassy in Baghdad by 5 days. The group warned that it would respond if it came under attack, while denying involvement in a drone strike that hit an Iraqi intelligence building on Saturday.
All right, man, let's go ahead and hear from, what was it? I think it was Iran's Navy official. Let's see here. I know, well, my bad. What was it? An IRGC spokesman, yes. Spokesman for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Iran's military has threatened to completely shut down the strategic Strait of Hormuz if US president acts on threats to target the country's power plants. Listen in.
If the United States threats regarding Iran's power plants are carried out, the following punitive measures will be taken immediately. 1.
Oh, hold on, guys. Make sure y'all go ahead and like the video, guys. Let's go ahead and beat the shadow ban by liking the video. So go ahead and double tap that screen, or go ahead and hit that like button, depending on how you're watching the video. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud. Just go ahead and super chat it in, or if you're on Facebook and watching, you can go ahead and Venmo it in.
The Strait of Hormuz will be completely closed, and it will not be reopened until our destroyed power plants are rebuilt. 2. All power plants, energy, and information and communications technology, ICT, infrastructure of the Zionist regime will be widely targeted. 3. All similar companies in the region that have American shareholders will be completely destroyed. 4. The power plants of the countries in the region that host American bases will be our legitimate targets.
This is in addition to its threat of striking desalination infrastructure across West Asia if its power infrastructure is hit. Hussein Karmanpour, Iran's health ministry spokesperson, has warned of humanitarian catastrophe from strikes on power and water systems. He compared it to the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As Trump's 48-hour deadline looms, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said his country would not be swayed by more threats, while adding that the strait is not closed. In a post on X, he said, and I'm quoting him here, "Ships hesitate because insurers fear the war of choice you initiated and not Iran." 20% of the world's crude oil and liquefied natural gas normally passes through Hormuz, but traffic through the vital strait has been brought to a near standstill since the start of the war. In recent days, Iran has allowed some vessels from countries it considers friendly to pass, while warning it would block ships from countries it says have joined the aggression against it. Iran's parliament is mulling imposing tolls on shipping through the strait. Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf said maritime traffic will not return to its pre-war status. Amid this, Iranians in the capital Tehran staged a pro-government rally on Sunday. Many waved Iranian flags and other held images of new leader Mujtaba Khomeini. The war is now in its fourth week, with Israel and the US continuing strikes on Iran. In the late Iranians in the capital Tehran staged a pro-government rally on Sunday. Many waved Iranian flags and other held images of new leader Mujtaba Khomeini.
Okay.
The war is now in its
I'm sorry, but that picture looked like they're mourning him.
fourth week, with Israel and the US continuing strikes on Iran. In the
dead.
latest, the Israeli army has said it has launched large-scale waves of strikes in Tehran. Blasts were heard in the Iranian capital. Earlier, the US Central Command released new videos showing strikes on various military targets in Iran. In a post on X, CENTCOM said the US forces continue to eliminate the Iranian regime's one-way attack drone capabilities. This, as Trump's Treasury Secretary says, the US may escalate its attack against Iran to be able to wind down the war.
I think he said he could wind the war down at any time he wants. And Kristen, this is the only language the Iranians understand.
Iran also continues its retaliatory strikes. At least one Iranian missile-carrying cluster warhead was seen in the night sky over Jerusalem and the occupied West Bank and Israel after midnight on Monday. It is yet to be confirmed whether it was more than one missile that was spotted, with smaller bombs spreading out. Israel has warned its citizens to expect weeks more fighting against Iran. UAE, Saudi Arabia and Bahrain also reported interception of Iranian drones.
All right, now let's go ahead and get over here to Fox News.
Our ultimatum, the clock is ticking on President Trump's 48-hour ultimatum he issued to Iran, warning last night that the U.S. will strike its power plants if the Strait of Hormuz is not reopened. Let's check back in with Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin, live in Tel Aviv. Mike, we're hearing that missiles are approaching Israel right now. What do you got for us?
But, and also just a comment from, what that spokesman was saying for the IRGC. It kind of seems like, yeah, he's pretty much saying, look, if you try to blow up our stuff, yeah, we're going to make it really bad for you guys. We're going to blow up all the energy infrastructure in the surrounding region. And then they got the goal to tell us, oh, yeah, and we're not going to relieve the pressure. We're not going to take the boot off the Strait of Hormuz until, they get paid reparations and their energy infrastructure gets rebuilt. So what? Are we going to go ahead and give them money to rebuild their oil infrastructure? That is crazy. I'm sorry, but their energy infrastructure, that'd be a crazy thing to do.
Well, we should start hearing the sirens in about 2 minutes now.
Guys, if you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, you can go ahead and send it in a super chat, or if you're on Rumble, you can send a Rumble rant, and if you're on, Facebook, you go ahead and send a Venmo.
Alerts are going right now. Everything from the north to the south of Tel Aviv is under watch right now, in the eastern section of Tel Aviv in particular. So when we hear the sirens car coming, usually what we get out of Iran these days are the cluster bombs. And the reason you get the cluster bombs is they're effective in terms of getting through the Israeli air defenses. And when I say cluster bomb, what I'm talking about is a warhead that's made up of dozens of little bombs. And when that's intercepted by the air defenses, it'll break up into dozens of bomblets, and the bomblets still get through. And we've seen them be very effective in terms of hurting people on the ground or destroying.
Which is illegal, by the way. Yeah, which is illegal. Using those cluster bombs is definitely a war crime because, one, of how inhumane, but it is highly effective, but extremely inhumane.
destroying property because those bomblets get through. What we saw yesterday was an exception because those were ballistic missiles with big 1,000-pound warheads. For the most part, those big warheads aren't getting through. They get intercepted. Last night, 2 of them got through in Dimona and Arad. The IDF did their investigation, and they simply determined that there wasn't a new type of weapon that was effective in terms of getting through, and there wasn't a failure of the system. It's just the fact that you're shooting missiles out of sky, which is a very difficult thing to do. So we're keeping an eye on the skies to the east of us right now, because that's where we expect the missiles to appear. That's the direction where the missiles come through, and then hopefully we'll see the interceptors launch and get after them. So that's a situation right now, and this is a drill that the people here in Israel are repeating every day, multiple times a day. You get the alerts over your phone. That's a period we're in right now. Once you start hearing the sirens wail in the background, that's an indication that the missiles are getting close. And what people have to do here, again and again and again, stop what they're doing, get up and go into what is called the mamad in Hebrew, the bomb shelter. You go into the bomb shelter, and that dramatically increases your chances. And now here.
Oh, already.
That's the sound of the sirens going off. That means the missiles are inbound. And we look off in the direction of Iran right now and wait to see where these missiles will appear in the sky. It's very different than the shorter range rockets that we see out of Lebanon and we saw out of the Gaza Strip for so many years, because those run out of fuel halfway and you don't see the inbound rocket. You only see the interceptors go up. What's different about the things that come in from Iran is they're ballistic missiles, so they leave the atmosphere, and when they re-enter, it's almost like a meteor shower with the rocket coming back in, because they get hot upon re-entry to the atmosphere, and then you'll see the interceptors go up after them. So right now, what you hear over Tel Aviv, I'll hold the microphone now. Those are the air raid sirens. The Israeli population now is pretty disciplined about getting into the shelters for this period of time and waiting it out, because the shelters are very effective, particularly with these big warheads when they come in. They spread shrapnel all over the place. And yeah, if we look up in the sky to the east, what I can see now is a cluster bomb. You saw the big light. That was the interception. And now we've got dozens of bomblets coming down over Tel Aviv. I see one bright light that is cascading in this direction. A lot of lights separating off of it. And those are the bomblets. And the bomblets themselves are still quite dangerous because they're little explosives. They're not as powerful as the big 1,000-pound warhead like came in Dimona last night, but they're still very capable of hitting people. And one single light is now cascading. And we heard a big boom there. That's probably the interception. And I'm looking at one single light now cascading. I won't give specifics on the location, but over in the skies over Tel Aviv, headed to the ground. And we'll see what that results in.
Mike, are you in a place
it didn't appear to cause a large explosion. Okay. Go right ahead.
Yeah, do you feel like you can answer some questions real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, so when it comes to the defense, the interception, you've got all these different Jacob's Ladder, the Iron Dome, the Arrow system. I know before this launch, back during the 12-day war last year, we talked about the capabilities, and then as this started, how much U.S. ships are helping in this to defend Israel. Is the sense that Israel's Iron Dome, the Arrow system, is still operable, still functioning with a proper amount of munitions, or are we using some U.S. assets now? Where does that seem to be?
I mean, yeah, that's actually a good question that everybody's been talking about, because everybody knows that, yeah, Iran is sending drones, they're sending missiles, and here's the thing, they're not even sending their longest range missiles. So they're not really exhausting the missiles that we want them to exhaust, which would be their longer range missiles, which would mean we wouldn't have to worry about that threat as much. But nope, Iran is over here sending these drones through, and they're getting intercepted with what? $1 million missiles. And they're also sending missiles through as well, and those are getting intercepted. But how long can Israel do this before they have to rely on us? And I mean, here's the thing, Iran has been doing this day to day. Israel's getting decimated, and so is Iran. Both of them are taking hits. But we've already know what Iran's trying to do. They don't care. They're trying to cause as much damage as possible. And Israel, well, I'm not sure the people of Israel as is on board as Bibi is.
Well, that's the kind of information that they won't necessarily give us, but what you have is a multi-layered defense. You've got the Iron Dome, you've got David slings, you have the THAAD interceptors that can intercept much higher in the atmosphere, and you've even got the Arrow missile systems. So the Iron Dome is supposed to be for a little bit closer range. And one of the things I can tell you in the background is I'm hearing multiple explosions, soft explosions. That's an indication that those bomblets are now cascading to the earth. A lot of them fall into open areas, and they even fall in residential areas when people are inside, and they don't result in many injuries. They really, the effect of these is a terror weapon. They traumatize the people who are living here in Israel. But the answer to your earlier questions, they've got multi-layers of interceptors and defense. And despite that, what we saw yesterday, you're shooting a missile out of the sky. You can't get them all, and 2 of them got through.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike Tobin, thank you so much. Please stay safe. Thank you for all that breaking news. We appreciate it.
All right, though, let's go ahead and get over to the left side of media. Let's see what CNN is saying. Let's see here. Yep.
President Donald Trump is threatening an enormous attack on Iran's energy infrastructure if Tehran doesn't allow free navigation through the strategic Strait of Hormuz. CNN's Eleni Giokos joining us live from Dubai. Eleni, Donald Trump then threatening Iran with an enormous punch on Iran's energy infrastructure should Tehran not, quote, open the strait within 48 hours. It's not at all clear whether Iran will heed that warning. All signs are that they won't. The impact of that choke point and the effect of a shutdown in energy sites around the region continues to have a huge impact on the world economy. Asian markets will open first, of course, for Monday trade. What's expected?
We are feeling it around the world already, I think, Becky. You can see inflation inputs basically across the board, whether it's energy, whether it's, things like downstream products on jet fuel, other products across the world. I think that speaking to a lot of corporates, they're really worried about what it's going to do to earnings down the line. And this is why we're starting to see a lot of concern coming through, and even in the markets and the equities. But just focusing on President Trump's line on if the Strait of Hormuz is not opened within 48 hours, that he's going to hit and obliterate power plants, and he's going to start with the biggest power plants in Iran. So clearly giving them an ultimatum.
Yeah, right now oil is trading at $100 a barrel. Yep, $100.80. Oil prices, crude oil futures. That's tough. That is tough. I believe there's more information. What was that one website? Here it is. Perfect, right there. Let's go ahead and head over here. Yeah, this right here. Let's see, what was it? Western Texas Intermediate crude oil trading at 100. Hold on, Brent crude oil. That's over, bro. That's almost at 115, 113. Hey, yo, hold the F on. This is not good. This is what I'm saying. This is what we're trying to tell you. That is, when it comes to these oil prices, is not looking good, and Americans are not going to have the patience for this. But yes, oil is now trading or now at $100 a barrel over. These are the two main ones. Well, that's concerning. That's definitely concerning. But if you ask Fox News, short-term pain for long-term gain. Right? Right.
Iran, for its part, coming up with a statement today saying that all vessels can pass through the Strait of Hormuz as long as they're not linked to what they say is the enemy. So we're talking about US and Israeli linked vessels. Now, how they apply that rule remains to be seen. We've heard just another vessel was impacted by an unknown projectile just off the coast here in the UAE in Sharjah. So we're seeing around 22 vessels that have already been impacted since the start of this war. And that, of course, creates a lot of nervousness from shippers. Iran also saying that if any of its power plants are in fact targeted, that they will retaliate. And they're focusing on desalination plants, they say US assets, as well as other critical energy infrastructure. So rhetoric definitely has been escalated. The big question is President Trump going to be happy with the line of, well, anyone can pass through the strait as long as it's not US and Israel linked vessels? And then importantly, that whoever wants to pass through the strait will have to coordinate with Iran for security guarantees. In the meantime,
And nobody's trying to do that, because that'd be us like conceding that Iran now controls the Strait of Hormuz. I'm like, they got people paying $2 million and you can't align with the U.S. So not aligning with the U.S. ain't enough. Y'all also got to give them $2 million. I mean, that is not what we wanted to do. And why does it seem like Iran is getting almost everything they ever wanted going to war with us instead of actually getting a deal with us? Like, this is insane.
We have heard that 22 countries have shown interest to assist in securing the strait. How and when that will happen, still not answered. In the meantime, interestingly, over the weekend, we also heard President Trump saying that he wants to start winding down the war. So in terms of the inconsistencies we've been hearing, specifically from the United States, Becky, this now 23 days into this war, the Gulf nations have borne the brunt of what we've been seeing in the strikes against the region, specifically on critical energy infrastructure.
This threat that was issued by
Oh, guys, let's make sure we double tap that screen and like the video on the horizontal live. And if you're on the, regular live, go ahead and hit that like. Go ahead and hit the like button. Appreciate the support, guys. If you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Just go ahead and send a super chat, or you can send in a Venmo. And if you're on Rumble, you can send a Rumble rant. All right, let's get back to it.
President Trump on Saturday Night Iran, as you saw, a very direct threat to the Iranians, saying if they do not reestablish free navigation or allow for free navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and completely reopen it, then the U.S. will potentially strike some of their energy infrastructure. Do you see this as perhaps the president really feeling that mountain?
And I ain't gonna lie, Trump kind of put himself in a very tight spot, because if he doesn't do something today, then yeah, he's gonna look like a sucker. He's gonna look like a sucker. They're gonna hit him with the Taco Trump, and I mean, I don't know. He might just act off that. I'll be real with you. Might just take that to push him over the edge, which would absolutely suck if happened in real life. But I mean, you never know. You never know. You know, Trump really gets caught up in his pride.
Political pressure that you and I have discussed for the last several weeks.
Well, it's also, I mean, look, it is the president, either by design or impulse, just sort of careening in his messaging on the war. I mean, literally just days ago, he said incorrectly, as it turned out, but he did say that the U.S. Was not informed of the Israeli attack on Iranian energy infrastructure. And then, of course, Iran responded by attacking other energy infrastructure in the region. Iran is not a democracy. I mean, the ruling regime can absorb a lot of pain on behalf of its public in a way that is just harder for a democracy to do. So it's kind of hard to imagine that this threat is going to lead to Iran to say, okay, yes, we cave and we are going to open the strait. More likely, if the U.S. follows through on this, Iran will try to take out more energy infrastructure in the region, and that could almost immediately be reflected in even higher gas prices. I mean, the president has always behaved, I think, in almost every situation as though he is.
I mean, bro, if they do that, we're cooked, bro. I mean, higher gas prices. Shoot, if your house ain't running on electric, bro. I mean, the heating bill too. Gas bill's gonna go up as well. Like, bro, liquid gas, like that goes through there too. So, bro, it's gonna be more than just our gas at the pump. It's gonna be all across the board, and yes, we're probably gonna be paying more for electricity as well. Like, this is not gonna be a good thing, and it's gonna hurt a lot of Americans in their pockets. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's kind of funny because shout out to Monty. He was trying to sell me on buying a Tesla, but not everybody can just buy a Tesla, which is a luxury item.
One with escalation dominance, what the military planners call escalation dominance. He decides how intense the conflict flares and when it ends. And that just does not seem to be the case right now.
If he does get free navigation of the Strait of Hormuz again, what happens then to this issue of NATO and how he's been obviously criticizing NATO allies while at the same time calling on their support? I mean, would he still need their support?
Well, again, if you think that Iran is going to completely back down and open the strait, or that we can do it through unilateral military force in some way, then he doesn't need NATO. But I think, and according
to, Well, I'm gonna be real with you. According to the missile range of the new updated missile range, the capabilities of Iran, that might actually be a real problem to go out there and put our soldiers and our vessels out there, because now Iran could reach it. I mean, they could hit further. And like I said, I'm not too really sure about that range, because then, I mean, how was our ships able to stay out of range of these missiles, but then also able to shoot Tomahawk missiles, which don't go as far as what they're saying these missiles now go? Because like I said, it went from 2,500 kilometers now to 4,000. So what's going on with that? But we'll see. We'll see as time goes on.
The posture of this administration toward traditional allies has been kind of indifference at best and diffidence and actually derision at worst. And
if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me go ahead and show you this quick little clip right here.
Given that range, more European countries could
this.
The attempted attack suggests the reach of Iran's missile capabilities may be much longer than expected. This Diego Garcia is 2,500 miles from Iran. Given that range, more European countries could be at risk of a missile strike. Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin is live in Tel Aviv, and he's got more on this.
Like, you see what I mean? You see the problem, because originally we thought that, you know what, this is like this orange right here. We thought this was the furthest they was truly going, around this orange area. But now they're saying, well, it's not this red area, because I think this might just be the capability of their hypersonic missiles actually out this red area. But no, they can go even further than that, even further. And I'm just thinking like, all right, so then where the hell is our ships? Because are they within this range? And you're telling me what? They're just backed all the way out here shooting hypersonic missiles that only go half as far? Like, make sense to me. But I mean, you never know. You never know. But all right, though. Let's get right back to it.
Given that range, more European countries could be at risk of a missile strike. Fox News senior correspondent Mike Tobin is live in Tel Aviv, and he's got more on this. Mike?
And let me start you out with a couple of significant Iranian ballistic missile strikes.
You know, I mean, the response of the NATO allies to this is what you might expect from those 15, 16 months of this kind of behavior. I mean, the president has, really not shown a lot of interest either in making the case to this to our traditional allies, why this was necessary to do other than Israel, and certainly not to the public at home. I mean, there's kind of been this sense that, we have the force to do this, and therefore everybody else, including the Iranians, would fall in line. And, in the end, we may get an awful lot of what we want out of this war, but we are certainly not getting it at as low a cost as he expects. And the biggest thing that we thought we might precipitate, which is the collapse of the regime, seems nowhere in sight. And again, president's response when pressured, almost always his first response is to escalate, to threaten more. Like, right, NATO isn't doing what he wants. We may reconsider our relations with NATO, and that is what the military planners call escalation dominance, but it does not seem to be completely in our hands at this moment.
We're now joined by Mehran Kamrava. He's a professor of government at Georgetown University in Qatar. Thank you so much for being with me, sir. I appreciate it. We are now into the 4th week of this war. When you look at where things stand at the moment, do you...
All right, let's get back over here, because it does seem that the strikes are going on about now. This video came out about 4 hours ago. So let's get right back into Al Jazeera.
The states and military are also legitimate target. And he also referred to the bonds market, and which indicates that the economic aspect is not just limited to the oil market, but also buying bonds also is another important. And this market also can be impacted as a result of this situation. So, but for sure, the relations between Tehran and those regional countries has been impacted as a result of the ongoing situation. And when this is over, naturally, I think it's going to be very difficult to amend those relations. However, I think being neighbors for good, I think the two sides will need to find solutions to at least to coexist and to improve the relations in the longer run. But this doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging.
Okay, and yes, we've heard this escalating rhetoric, haven't we, from President Trump saying he'll obliterate Iran's power plants, and Iran in return saying they'll attack power plants of US regional allies, Gulf Arab states. I mean, what can we read into this rhetoric, Abbas? Is this all about both sides trying to establish longer-term strategic objectives here?
Well, it's got two aspects, I think. One is that Trump is fed up with Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. It seems that his administration approached this war with a mentality that this is going to be a short-term one, but maybe through decapitating they can collapse the system. This didn't happen. They were saying that Iran could not close the Strait of Hormuz. Later, they said that they could escort tankers. It didn't happen. And then
and that's what's not making us look so good right now. It's like, oh, we'll get the Strait of Hormuz open. Like, we destroyed Iran's navy. Well, did that open up the Strait of Hormuz? Well, I'm gonna tell you this right now, it did not. It did not do it. Not at all. I wish it did, but it did not. I mean, oh, is there more ships moving through the Strait of Hormuz because we're handing out insurance and what? Naval passage? Is that happening? No. Well, no, not at all. So, yeah, it does seem like a lot of promises are being made to make people feel better, maybe make the markets feel better, but everybody's kind of seeing through it, and it's not really helping nobody out by just trying to tell everybody sweet nothings about how we're just going to do all this amazing stuff to open up the Strait of Hormuz and put Iran in their place, and none of it's happening right now. I mean, yes, we're bombing the shit out of them, but they still close the Strait of Hormuz. And yeah, we are threatening to blow up their energy infrastructure, but we're not even sure if that's a legal move. I'm pretty sure somebody's tapping Trump on the shoulder like, bro, what are you talking about? First off, we still got to measure how much civilian harm could this be. And if the military advantage doesn't outweigh the civilian harm, yeah, that's going to be an international crime. Like, you can't do that.
They ask for help from other countries. Now Trump is threatening with striking those energy infrastructure, which is a kind of, let's say, maybe admission that Strait of Hormuz cannot open militarily, and that's why he is threatening the country with, infrastructure strikes, which could somehow bring a new escalation to the ongoing war. And the second aspect is that maybe Trump, as a result of lack of a, let's say, strategic victory in this, war, is trying.
Oh, guys, do me a favor and like the video, guys. If you're watching the horizontal live, go ahead and tap that like button. Let's get more people on the conversation. If you're on the vertical, let's go ahead and double tap that screen if you haven't already. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going. And hey, guys, make sure to support the show. Send in a super chat, Rumble Rant, or you can send a Venmo. And let's keep it going.
To manufacture a victory image in order to find enough ramp from this situation.
So how much leverage then does Iran really have with the Strait of Hormuz? And what role is the issue of energy and oil supply likely to play in terms of reaching some kind of deal with the Americans to end the war?
Well, initially the perception here in Tehran was that if they close the Strait of Hormuz, but as they're saying that they're controlling it in a smart manner, meaning that those who are in good terms with Iran can pass through this waterway, and those who are not, meaning the United States, Israel, and their allies, cannot go through this strait. The initial take was that the longer this conflict goes on, the bigger the consequences will be. And as we speak, there are some, let's say, calculations that in a week or more, the oil prices are expected to increase and rise significantly. That's Trump is giving a 2-day ultimatum to Iran to open the strait. But it is not just, Iran is not just relying on the Strait of Hormuz. This is part of a multi-layered and multi-stage conflict that has had other, aspects.
So crazy, guys. I this is gonna piss you off, and I'm not trying to be that guy, but Western Texas Intermental, like WTI crude oil. When I just showed you it, like probably like 10 minutes ago, You know, it's at $100. It just went up $1. It just went up another $1 10 minutes ago. Man, that is tough.
Front opens, it can include Bab el-Mandab, Suez Canal. Also, Iran in the military battle has been trying to open a multi-front war of attrition against the United States, and to outlast their operational patience.
Just to take you back, Abbas, to a point you were making, I mean, both the US and Israeli leaders seem surprised that the Iranian leadership has not yet capitulated in this war, despite many of its political and military leaders being killed. What would victory then look like for Iran? I mean, presumably, if the regime just survived this war, they would say it's a win.
Well, in week 4 of the conflict, we are seeing that Iran is not exhibiting any sign of surrender or strategic defeat, but it has shifted from, its operational posture from fight for its survival to, let's say, to secure a long-term strategic interest and turning that immediate threat into strategic opportunities. Meaning that Iran wants to establish a security arrangement in order to guarantee that there will be no future aggression against the country. Additionally, Iranian foreign minister said that freedom of navigation needs freedom of trade, meaning that Iran wants to use also the current situation as a leverage to somehow relatively lift the sanctions against the country and to get more, let's say, compromises from the other side. So from the fight for the survival, now we are seeing that Tehran is demanding a new security arrangement as well as lifting of the sanctions.
Abbas, let me get a final thought from you. I mean, you're there in the Iranian capital, Tehran. You've heard the explosions. You've seen the damage. We also have seen pictures of the destruction here. We see it every day on Al Jazeera.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the next video here. Iran shifts to offensive mode. Cluster missiles strike on Israel. The and Hezbollah front escalates. Of course, because, yes, for some reason, Israel wanted to start a war with Lebanon in their attempt to take southern Lebanon. I guess they want their get back on that note, which they never should have been trying to take southern Lebanon in the first place. But, hey, it is what it is with these guys.
Now, Israel is under another round of overnight Iranian missiles attacks. People are seeing scenes like this across the country. That's the scenes there that they're seeing. Interception efforts are underway. Falling shrapnel has been reported in several locations across southern and central Israel. Some communities have reported fires and damage. Well, earlier Israeli police said an Iranian missile struck a kindergarten in Rishon LeZion, that's south of Tel Aviv, and it was closed at the time with no injuries. Overnight, though, on Saturday, strikes on 2 cities in southern Israel caused extensive damage. The incidents have raised questions over Israel's air defense systems.
In every event, even in successes, we investigate the entire chain of performance, from the detection to the interception, discover new things, do corrections, and adapt to the situation. The Air Force is managing a complex defensive battle. More than 90% of the launches fired at Israel are intercepted.
Let's go to Rog McBride live for us from the Jordanian capital, Amman. So we know there's been multiple shrapnel falling in different areas. Is there any damage at all?
Yeah, there have been reports that Israel has been experiencing intense missile activity incoming mainly from its believed Iran. There have been multiple alerts being issued mainly around the Jerusalem and central Israel areas, but also in the south. They seem to have been the target. The authorities there have been telling people to take shelter, reporting incoming Iranian missiles. There have been reports of explosions, and it's thought that some of the warheads have been these cluster type of munitions that distribute these smaller bomblets. So we're getting reports that at least 8 locations, mainly across central Israel, have been impacted by falling parts, falling debris, or fall.
Hey, yo, and shout out to well, first off, shout out to my man Nick King. He says, W Stream, thank you for having integrity and not just toting the line for mainstream media. Hey, man, I appreciate that, Nick King. He sent that on Venmo. So, hey, that's $4 towards the call in and opening it up. Appreciate that, my man Nick King.
Explosives. There is reports of damage. We're seeing that on social media. We're still trying to ascertain what casualties there might have been. Earlier, there were also alarms being issued right across a number of areas in northern Israel. They were later lifted. People were told it was safe to come out from shelters once more. But that really follows a pattern we have been seeing through Sunday, with multiple alerts being issued, especially affecting the north, because they are subjected not only to Iranian missile attacks, but also attacks from the north across the border, from Lebanon, from Hezbollah groups. So we had one 6-hour period on Sunday where there were 23 different alerts, and it does all add to this general sense of exhaustion amongst ordinary Israelis, who many of them have safe rooms in their homes, or they have access to shelters, are constantly having to go and take shelter. And there is a sense that the government had said right at the start of this conflict that as soon as possible they would start to drop some of these emergency measures.
All right. Oh, yeah, man. You know, I got to shout out to the real one. Shout out to my man Jet. He says, he's like, wait, where was the intel about Iran having cluster bombs? I mean, no, that's also a good point too, because I mean, like, bro, we're over here focusing so hard on their nuclear capabilities. I guess he forgot to check the capability of their missiles. Because you're right. Like, when did they get cluster bombs? Like, when did this happen? Because trust me, I don't know either. When I first seen them use it, I was like, oh, hold on, y'all got that? And I mean, yeah, they're breaking international law using it, but I mean, let's be real. I mean, Lord knows Israel don't give a damn about international law. So I guess they got to fight fire with fire, as much as I don't like to say that.
And give a return to a sense of normalcy. But with this latest intensive exchanges, we are seeing that, for example, some of the school restrictions remain in place. Many schools are still closed. The restrictions on the numbers of people who can gather, that's also remains in place. And now we're hearing from the authorities that they are actually increasing the restrictions on the numbers of flights coming in and out of Ben Gurion International Airport, and the numbers of passengers that can be on those flights.
Yeah, and just shifting now from Israel, of course, the Israeli army chief has said that the operation that it's carrying out against Hezbollah in Lebanon, that's the neighboring country, has only begun.
Damn.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think generally, despite this sense of war weariness, there is a feeling amongst most Israelis that this has to be done. They fear a nuclear-armed Iranian regime under the current regime there as an existential threat. Similarly, they believe that Hezbollah has to be taken on, has to be effectively defanged or disabled. So
but can they do that without displacing 1 million Lebanese people? Can they do that without doing that? Can they do that without, destroying civilian infrastructure in Lebanon? Because yeah, that's kind of wild what they're doing right there. And it's kind of wild how they're doing it in the fog of war of Iran. Like, that's even crazier.
Seeing intensive fighting back and forth across the Lebanese border. The Israeli military have been launching artillery and airstrikes into southern Lebanon. They've been continuing this campaign of destroying buildings and bridges that they say have been used.
Oh, shoot. Hey, Steph. How's it going, sis? And shout out. Oh, guys, shout out to supporters. Appreciate you guys. Now, what Steph said is, check your DM on Discord. Sorry, I've been hit or miss on your lives, by the way. Oh, no, you're good. You're good. I already know a lot's been happening. Trust me, don't worry. I read what you've been saying, even though I'll be extremely busy at the time. A lot's happening with family. I said day one, I'll always support you, and I appreciate you, sis, because you've always been by my side day one. And here's the thing, like Steph, I mean, she's MAGA. She's MAGA, but I also know Steph also is kind of, I'm not sure if you really agree with me on my whole stance on this whole war, because I'm gonna be real with you. Like I said, I'm still about make America great again, America first, but the reason I'm against this war is because it does not help that agenda of making America great again and putting America first. So one of the main reasons I'm against this is because it goes against that. And if somebody can give me an argument of how it helps it, please, I'm willing to hear it. I know, please let me know and make it make sense. I want to believe.
used by Hezbollah, and it all does seem to lead to a sense that they are preparing the ground for something much bigger. In response, Hezbollah has been targeting Israeli soldiers inside Lebanon and also in northern Israel, and the Israeli military has confirmed that during Sunday, 7 soldiers have been hurt, some of them wounded by a drone. But the Israeli military have confirmed that their offensive into Lebanon will continue in spite of whatever happens with Iran in their combined efforts where their allies, the United States, against the Iranian regime. It does seem they have a separate agenda that they will still committed to following through with many Israeli senior military officials going on Israeli media, I think preparing the Israeli public for a long, hard conflict ahead as they continue their fight with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like it might be a bit more long term. Thanks very much, Rog McBride there.
Yeah, and that's what's kind of going on that end. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into this video right here with Fareed. I don't hate him. I just hate his takes. I don't hate this guy. I just hate his opinions. I'll be real with you. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and get his take.
Beneath the daily headline of strikes and counterstrikes in the Middle East, we're witnessing something seismic. War is being utterly transformed. In the first week of Tehran's retaliation campaign, drones accounted for about 71% of recorded strikes on Gulf states, according to a CSIS analysis. The UAE alone reportedly faced 1,422 detected drones and 246 missiles in just 8 days. We could already glimpse many of these trends in Ukraine, but in Iran, the future of war has definitively come into view. Michael Horowitz of the Council on Foreign Relations says, we are now in the era of precise mass in war. For decades, precision warfare meant a handful of Tomahawk missiles, stealth bombers, or fighter jets. Now it can mean a one-way drone built from commercial parts and launched in swarms. What used to require a great industrial nation's capacity can increasingly be assembled, adapted, and scaled by much smaller states. The economics of war are being turned upside down. A Shaheed-type drone often costs around $35,000. A Patriot interceptor costs about $4 million, which would buy over 100 drones.
All right, hold on, dog. Hold on. I ain't even gonna let you get away with that. All right, first off, it's funny what he did right there, because let's be real with you, these are about like $50,000. So he dramatically made this lower, and then really dramatically made this higher. 4 million, about $1 million. I mean, not 4 million, but about $1 million, maybe 2, but not 4 million. And but the drone, I mean, that's about 50,000. Still, to take out a drone, we are using $1 million missiles, and I mean, I'm not sure how long we can do that, and that's why Trump is asking for $200 billion. Why? Because, well, I guess we want to sit here and send $1 million rockets at, well, $50,000 drone. Yeah, I know, right? Not the best idea. But I guess is what we got to do instead of coming up with a more efficient strategy, which honestly, I thought we did already. I know, well, with us re-engineering their drones and sending it right back at them, but I'm not really sure if those are intercepting the drones that they're sending at us.
About 4 million, which would buy over 100 drones. This is the new arithmetic of conflict. The attacker spends thousands, the defender spends millions. But the revolution is bigger than drones. It's really about a new military architecture. Cheap autonomous systems, AI-assisted targeting, commercial satellite imagery, resilient communications, integrated sensors, and cyber tools all operating together. The aim is not merely to strike. It is to compress time, to find, decide, and hit faster than the enemy can move, hide, or recover. In an experiment last year, the Air Force said that machines generated recommendations in under 10 seconds and produced 30 times more options than human-only teams. The old model of military supremacy relied on exquisite systems, magnificent, costly, slow to produce, painful to lose, but they are no longer enough by themselves. The side that wins tomorrow's wars may not be the one with the single best platform. It may be the one that can field enough good platforms cheaply enough, quickly enough, and network them intelligently enough. Lots of good stuff will beat small numbers of great stuff. Ukraine remains the great laboratory of this new age. Out of necessity, it has built a model of adaptation at wartime speed. Ukraine's Sting interceptor drone costs about $2,000, flies up to 280 kilometers per hour, has downed more than 3,000 Shaheeds since mid-2025 per its manufacturer, and is being produced at more than 10,000 a month, according to Reuters. One Ukrainian test pilot said that learning to fly it takes only 3 or 4 days for those who can already operate drones.
Oh, it looks fun.
And then there is the software side. Ukraine has opened access to its battlefield data, so allies can train drone AI, which will boost pattern recognition and target detection capabilities. Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov says the country now possesses a unique array of battlefield data that is unmatched anywhere else in the world, including millions of annotated images gathered during tens of thousands of combat flights. In other words, the war's most valuable output may not just be hardware, it may be data. This is why the implications stretch far beyond Ukraine and the Gulf. Ukraine's top commander says Moscow is now producing 404 Shahed-type drones every day and aims eventually for 1,000 drones a day. By contrast, Lockheed Martin produced about 600 Patriot interceptors in all of 2025 and hopes to scale that to 2,000 by.
I mean, you know, it's a damn shame. I mean, the fact that, bro, Iran makes more rockets than we do, like within 3 months than we do in an entire year. These guys are making like 300 rockets a month, and we're making 600 rockets a year. And this was one of the problems with going to war with Iran was that, well, I'm be real with you, dude. Like, it costs a lot less for them to go to war with us. And I don't know how long we can do this. And this is why the price of war, or the price of this war, has been skyrocketing. And also why Trump is asking for $200 billion more. Why? Because we have to keep up this very expensive defense. It sucks, but it is what it is.
2027. Remember, that's 1,000 drones a day versus 2,000 interceptors a year. The contrast tells the story. The problem is no longer simply technological sophistication, it is industrial scale, software integration, and the speed with which lessons from the battlefield are turned into mass production. There are many deeper implications of this revolution in military affairs. With drones out there, the battle is everywhere, and soldiers will not get a respite. With human beings far from the battlefront, war might become easier to contemplate, but also easier to deadlock. And with these deadly weapons easy to produce, terror groups, drug cartels, and criminal gangs can wage the kind of war that was once the domain of organized armies with arsenals. In 1991, the Gulf War taught the world that advanced technology could make war precise. In 2026, Iran is teaching the world something more consequential. Precision will now be mass-produced. The countries that prevail will not simply be those with the finest platforms. There will be those that can combine small numbers of exquisite, expensive weaponry with vast numbers of cheap drones. Human judgment will, over time, give way to computer algorithms. That is the future of war. And it's arriving faster than most of us imagined.
I mean, shoot. I mean, we're already bragging about it. Look, U.S. military touts use of advanced AI in fight against Iran. I mean, no, it's right here. Shout out to Fox News for keeping it 100 with us. So, yeah, U.S. military touts the use of advanced AI in the fight against Iran. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into this video, but man, let's have a bit of a comedic interlude, man. We need to laugh a little bit, guys. Things have been serious. I know you're a little bit worked up, but you know what? Let's take a little bit of comedic relief, man. All right. And while we do that, take a little bit of comedic relief, go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video. And any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, you can send in a super chat. I'll go ahead and read them out loud after this video. All right, guys, enjoy.
So, I hear you're a politician looking to fund your campaign. That's right, it's running for Congress. It's nice to meet you. I'm with AIPAC. What do you believe in? Well, I'm America first. Are you? Yeah, I use that term loosely. Oh, let me ask you this. How do you think you can best serve your constituents here in Texas? Well, I think by listening to their voices, their concerns, and then taking action by visiting Israel. How often? I mean, once seems like enough. And by once is enough, I mean multiple times, like once a year, and once a month would be better, but actually every 2 weeks seems like a good balance to go talk to high-level officials in Israel to better learn how I can represent my constituents here in Texas, to hear it directly from them. Fascinating idea. It seems like you care. So what are your feelings on this war with Iran? I mean, gosh, it's like a no-win situation. Just being in there is more war with Iran is that's how I feel about the war with Iran, wouldn't it be? As a potential member of Congress, why would you say it's necessary to stay in the war with Iran? Well, gosh, yeah, I mean, you got the WMDs, or nukes, as we're calling it on this one, and you've got the, you know, the yada, 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 America's best interests, is it? Yes. What are your feelings on this Epstein files nonsense? I mean, these disgusting predators, we need full investigations and then prosecutions. Shouldn't we just move on from them? Really? I mean, these files just seem like a big distraction to me, don't they? Because I don't think anybody did anything wrong. What's your stance on hate speech? Well, it's ugly, but you can't have free speech without hate speech. Is that right? No, because free speech doesn't include hate speech. Hate speech about whom? Well, everybody? Israel, of course. Yeah. The answer is Israel. And what, in your opinion, and the opinion of the voters that you'd represent, constitutes hate speech against Israel? Well, I think if you're not saying anything great, then it's hate. If it's not great, it's hate. Sounds like a good campaign slogan. If it's not great, it's hate. If it's not great, it's hate. Huh? It's catchy. Yeah. I think people in Texas will love it. Just curious, with 9/11, how do you explain the collapse of Building 7? It was hit by a plane. No, Building 7 was the one that was not hit by a plane. Oh, yeah. Well, so that building fell because the debris from everywhere else got the windows really dirty and like weighted them down, and the vector of the planes into the other buildings just caused mass heat, and just obviously Building 7 would explode. It imploded. Obviously implode is correct. Howard Lutnick. Oh, he's tremendous. Ted Cruz, loyal American. Lindsey Graham. I like Lindsey. Not gay. Not gay. Lindsey's good for America. I like where your head's at. I think you have a lot of potential in politics. Here's millions of dollars. Thank you. If you do a good job serving America, say that with me. Serving America. Serving America. Serving America. There's a lot more where that came from.
Hey, did you?
Yep, you just gotta sell out hard enough. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get back to the video. Let's get right back to it. Let's not forget to double tap that screen, like the video. And if you're on a horizontal live, make sure to hit the like button. If you're on Rumble, make sure to like the video, guys. Appreciate the support. Let's keep it going.
I'm back with Danny Centrinowicz, who served as head of the Iran branch of Israel's military intelligence. He joins me from Tel Aviv. Danny, you say that one of the possible probable outcomes of this conflict will be an Iran that decides to race toward building a nuclear weapon. It's never done that before. It's always stopped short. It's always stayed kind of one or 2 feet before that red line. Why do you think they'll now make a dash for it?
Yeah, in order to understand that, let's a little bit do a recap on the Iranian nuclear strategy. Until 2003, Iran wanted to build a nuclear bomb. 2003, Khamenei, the father, forgo that option and actually tried to bring Iran to a threshold state on enrichment without crossing the Rubicon. He was very afraid of that. That is why he issued a fatwa, a religious order, saying that you cannot develop a nuclear bomb. When he's dead, the fatwa is dead, meaning that what we have now is young, radicalized leader.
Hold on now. Just because he died, the fatwa is still there. It's just that will the fatwa be overturned by the new Ayatollah? And I mean, well, the supreme leader, and God forbid it does. We don't know, but we'll see, because apparently we took out the guy who was, surprisingly, Khomeini wasn't the hardliner that we figured him to be, but guess what? His son sure is. So we'll see how that goes.
Mujtaba, the son, want to avenge the death of his father, his mother, his wife, his daughter, and he has behind him, he's controlled by the RGC, the most extreme element in Iran. And they see right now that they need something else in order to build the deterrence. Not missile, not everything related to Hezbollah or Shiite militias, no proxies will defend Iran in the future. They need to have the ultimate card. And with the 440 kilos for 60% that is buried in Isfahan or elsewhere, they have the ability to do so, at least reaching the fissile material of 90%. So I'm saying that the war that actually meant to prevent Iran from crossing the threshold actually might be the war that actually will push Iran beyond the threshold towards a nuclear bomb.
Danny, let me ask you this. There are reports that President Trump was given some briefings, for example, by the Defense Intelligence Agency, that the Strait of Hormuz would be closed. And apparently he seems to have either not cared or not prepared adequately. But Israel has been preparing for this conflict for a long time. Israel knows specific tactical intelligence perfectly. But how is it that Israel seems to have misread the regime, misread the response? If Bibi Netanyahu did tell Donald Trump that this regime will collapse, that you will have people welcoming you on the streets, how did Israel get this wrong? What explains Netanyahu's eagerness and his calculation that this regime would collapse within a day or two?
I think the problem wasn't operationally. I think the IDF and Central Command working amazing together have operation achievement that we shouldn't underestimate that. But the problem was strategically. I think Netanyahu and Trump really thought that if you decapitate Khamenei, the regime will collapse. They didn't think what will happen next. So this is why we don't have off-ramps. We don't have a strategic way out of this escalation. So I think it goes back to the flawed understanding regarding Iran. And I want to add one other thing regarding that.
Trust me, I'm looking for the off-ramp too. Because to be honest, if we'd have had an off-ramp, maybe if we'd have kidnapped the Ayatollah, I don't know, captured him, sure, that'd have been we'd have had a way better position with the Iranian than killing him, making him a martyr, and now these guys rally around the flag, and now they're all in. And then also, this is about grinding down their military capability. Well, how long do you think that's going to take? And can we do that from the air? Can we completely grind down their military capability from the air? Will we have to put boots on the ground? Because according to Trump, he want to put boots on the ground on Karg Island. So it's sounding like, well, yeah, that's what we'd have to do. So is either we're going to commit all the way through and takes all the bumps and bruises that comes with it, or we are going to have to find an off-ramp and we'll take the risk of looking bad on the world stage. It's like this seems like our only option. Is either we all the way commit and accept all the consequences of it, or we take an off-ramp that makes us look like a wimp, that makes us look bad on the world stage. I'm gonna be real with you. It's like, it sucks, but these are our options that we're left with.
Intelligence-wise, you can know where the leaders are, you can know where their deputies are, but sometimes you can see the trees, but you cannot see the forest. Meaning that even if Israel has an amazing operational intelligence on Iran, I don't think that strategically we understand how the Islamic Republic is actually working. And this has led to our problematic situation right now in the war itself.
And so what do you think is the most likely outcome, Danny, at this point? Is it an escalation, or is it Trump taking an off-ramp?
I think that we probably will know in the next 48 hours. If President Trump will decide to attack the infrastructure in Iran, it's going to get ugly in a way. Things are going to get escalate. And I don't think I find it very hard to see the end of it, because things will be very bad in terms of the influence on the economical market, on the oil prices and things like that. Because once Trump will hit that, then gloves are off, no red lines, and everything will escalate. If he'll decide to hold off, and we're thinking about that, maybe there is a way for off-ramp, maybe through some third people or countries that actually will mediate between Iran and USA, for example, Oman or Qatar, maybe some sort of political off-ramp. I think we are getting close to this decision, but if President Trump will decide to hit the infrastructure, there is no way back from this decision.
All right, guys, go over to the next video here. Shout out, U.S. military touts use of advanced AI in fight against Iran.
And when to shoot.
What?
Well, the U.S. military confirms...
Not the rise of AI.
Well, the U.S. military confirms it is using advanced AI tools in the war with Iran, but officials stress humans are still in control. Here's CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper.
Humans will always make final decisions on what to shoot and what not to shoot, and when to shoot. But advanced AI tools can turn processes that used to take hours and sometimes even days into seconds.
Let's bring in Owen Daniels, Associate Director of Analysis at Georgetown University's Center for Security and Emerging Technology. So artificial intelligence in wartime, what kinds of help can it provide to U.S. troops?
Oh, guys, if you've got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, make sure you send in a super chat, Venmo, or Rumble rant. Appreciate the support, by the way. And let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video. And if you're on the horizontal side, go ahead and tap that like button. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Happy to talk about this. So what the Maven Smart system, which is one of the operational systems that uses AI, does is essentially help human operators with decision support. So a core function of systems like MSS, as it's called, is to essentially build and maintain target lists and then recommend the weapons needed to strike the targets. The Washington Post reported that the MSS helped U.S. commanders select up to 1,000 targets in the first day of the conflict. So these systems are essentially helping shrink the number of people and hours needed to identify targets and complete these tasks. And they're achieving tasks that, again, these legacy systems would take much longer to complete.
Yeah, these days when you've got, smart weapons that can hone in on a particular GPS coordinate, if you've got multiple launches from multiple coordinates, I suppose having AI sift through the exact locations helps a lot in responding to that kind of fire.
Yeah, essentially what these systems are doing are fusing enormous streams of sensor data. So some of that is imagery, signals intelligence, communications intercepts, and even relevant information from social media feeds. And they're turning it into a coherent operational picture that human commanders can use to better understand the battlefield.
But when the Admiral says that humans will always make the final decisions about what to shoot and not to shoot, I mean, I can see a situation where a machine says, okay, there's the target right there. And if you pull the trigger, that target might not be correct.
Yeah, and I think, the commander touched on one of the primary risks, which surrounds this question of human oversight. So officials have continually maintained the importance of human oversight. The risk here is that the tempo of operations in a real war context means that it could be tempting to reduce the kind of friction point of a human review of AI's work. And I think we all know at this point that these systems are capable of making mistakes. There are fair questions to be raised about whether or not AI can help improve on levels of human error that are kind of inherent to conflict. But ideally, we want humans and AI working together to improve targeting decisions rather than trying to do it alone.
What about the danger of hacking? Is that something that you have to worry about when it comes to AI?
Good question.
Yeah, so essentially AI systems rely very heavily on data tools, and AI is creating new vulnerabilities as an attack surface for adversaries. So you could theoretically poison the data that an AI trains on. There are much lower tech ways of spoofing AI systems, even through using fake decoys of tanks or other targets. We've seen some of this in Ukraine. And so while this technology has made significant strides in recent years, there are still ways to kind of fool it or spoof it that mean the human oversight role is really important.
Because that's, one of the worries, obviously. Iran or North Korea, states like those, could not come out victorious against the United States on the battlefield in a conventional war. But when you put a bunch of people, enough people in front of a keyboard and start telling them to hack into systems, that's where they become a near peer.
I think it's a really challenging point to try to uncover, because I think the US military has been thoughtful in considering the risks that AI systems create. These systems are very sophisticated and they'll be very secure when they're deployed, whether that's through kind of controlling data resources or trying to ring fence them with cybersecurity measures.
I don't know. I still don't trust it. I just don't trust it. Like, what's wrong with just keeping a human eye on things, especially when it comes to the possible taking of human life? What's wrong with making sure that a human's doing it? I think we should make sure humans do it, and I know it sounds fucked up, but yeah, we should let humans do it so humans can understand the cost of war. Because if we take away the fact that you need a human inside, or you need a human to push that button or pull that trigger, then people are going to start going to war and are not going to feel anything about it, because, well, they don't got to look at it, nor do they got to do it. And I don't know. I think that's a very scary thing. And people are going to be too gun-ho to get into war. I mean, people are too gun-ho to get into war now. Can you imagine if we had AI pulling all the triggers, making all the moves? Like, come on now. I don't like that. I don't like that image. I don't like where that's going. But all right, let's go ahead and get back to it. Iran attacked Gulf's neighbors, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Kuwait, reported interceptions. This came out about 14 minutes ago.
Air raid sirens were activated in Bahrain and Kuwait a short while ago. Both countries have come under near daily Iranian attacks since the war began. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates reported interceptions of drones and missiles on Sunday. It comes as the Secretary General of the Gulf Cooperation Council renewed his condemnation of Iranian attacks on GCC member states. He said the GCC reserves the right under international law to take necessary measures to protect their security. Zain Basravi is in Dubai for us now. Zain, so just bring us up to date with what's been happening across the wider Gulf region.
Well, the patience of leaders here in the Gulf countries is wearing thinner every day with every strike that is carried out. And what we are seeing this morning is, once again, a couple of hours ago, as you said, air raid sirens going off in Bahrain and Kuwait. In the UAE, the government issued a notice that it was dealing with an incoming missile threat. Air defense is currently responding to an incoming missile threat from Iran, a kind of message on people's phones that has become all too familiar in the last few weeks. Saudi Arabia intercepted ballistic missiles over Riyadh earlier today. One was intercepted directly, another fell.
My bad. Shout out to my man Jet. He said, one small step for Skynet, one giant leap for us being fucked. And I agree. Because when I was looking at that too, I was kind of like silent, because when I'm hearing them answer these questions, and I'm like, I ain't gonna lie, none of your answers make me feel comfortable about AI being used to take human life. I'm just gonna be real with you. I don't feel comfortable with that reality, but apparently this is what they want to do. Of course, I bet they would.
In an uninhabited area, according to the Saudi government there. This after overnight, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE spent much of the evening dealing with interceptions of drones and missiles being fired from Iran. And a reminder of how dangerous it can be, even if these projectiles are intercepted. One person was injured, according to the Abu Dhabi media office, from falling debris after UAE's air defenses successfully intercepted a ballistic missile. So the threat remains because these things are happening over heavily populated areas. That's something we have to keep reminding viewers. Safety still needs to be a paramount concern. And of course, this morning in Qatar, waking up to the news of the death of those 7 members of a helicopter crew that joined Qatari-Turkish Defense Forces carrying out a routine mission. Qatar's Emir offered prayers with family members and mourners yesterday on Sunday, certainly bringing the war closer to home for you guys there in Doha.
Yeah, Zain, and the Gulf states are major oil producers, aren't they? So ending this conflict is critical to the health of their economies going forward.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. The economic fallout can't be underrated because,
I mean, shoot, not just in oil and, you know, liquid gas and all this good stuff. I mean, we're also talking about tourism as well. A lot of rich people like to live in these places, you know, due to it being a tax haven, and it looks pretty damn nice as well. But they're not going to want to live there if they're under constant threat of being hit by an Iranian missile or drone. Like, who want to go through that when they can just come over to America and, well, not have to worry about none of that? Sure, the tax haven is going to disappear, but I mean, at least you ain't getting struck at by drones.
it's not just the local economies. Those are obvious. The ramifications are immediate for places like Dubai, for the UAE, for Doha, for elsewhere. Tourism is down. Traffic that would have been higher during the Eid break is far lower. Foot traffic at restaurants, there are layoffs. All of those things are obvious and easy to see. But there are less obvious global ramifications because, of course, the Middle East is such an important part of the global economic chain. What we're seeing this morning is that Asian stocks are down as Trump's ultimatum, that 48-hour ultimatum to open the Strait of Hormuz approaches. Asian trading is down, and as Asian markets go, the rest of the world tends to follow. So later today, we're expecting markets to take a tumble. Australia and Singapore, another headline, Australia and Singapore have signed a deal to safeguard their energy supplies. The International Energy Agency chief is warning that the situation in the Middle East is very severe, and there will already be long-term implications. If the conflict stops today, there will still be economic impact going forward. And she says that this could be the worst energy crisis since the 70s. Global oil and gas markets are facing prolonged instability. And what we are seeing is countries like India, Pakistan, China, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, major population centers, major economies that rely on the regularity of LNG and oil supplies are making plans long-term to get their resources elsewhere or are shoring up for taking bad economic hits. And this is global chaos, courtesy of Israeli aggression and courtesy of yet another war of interventionism by the United States in Israel. And perhaps these countries taking these moves is an indication of how they see this conflict going, of how little faith they have in a negotiated solution happening anytime soon.
Zain Basravi for us there in Dubai. Zain, thank you.
Yeah, and as it goes by, it does not seem to be looking any better. I'm just going to say that right now, guys. As things keep going by, it is not looking any better. But all right, though, let's get right into this video here.
In other developments, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says more than 20 countries have agreed to work on efforts to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. Iran insists the crucial waterway is only closed to what it calls its enemies.
I know the president was angry because he feels that European and other allies have been too slow. The good news here is that since Thursday...
Well, and let's be real. Your people are telling you they don't want to get drugged into a war with Iran because of the United States. I mean, what? Israel drag us into it. Now we're going to go ahead and drag in the Europeans. I mean, that's kind of effed up. And then to sit there in their face and tell them, well, you know, this affects you more than hurts us. Like, bro, that's like the most dickhead thing I can think of. Like, hold on, bro. You started this war that's affecting us the most, and now you're going to drag us into it on the guidelines of, oh, yeah, this hurts us too. Oh, and not to mention, you didn't even tell us you were going to do this. So, like, are you serious? Like, that's the guidelines you want to drag us in on. If I was the Europeans, yes, I'd be very livid with the Americans right now. I can't even be mad that they're upset with us over this. And that a lot of them said no. I'm not even upset.
A group of 22 countries, most of them from NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, the UAE and Bahrain, most of the other countries from NATO, coming together to implement his vision of making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is free, is opening up as soon as that is possible.
Well, to discuss this and all the latest developments in the conflict, I'm now joined by Mohammed Al-Masri, Professor of Media Studies at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Good to have you with us, Mohammed. First of all, on Mark Rutte's comments there, what do you make of that? Is this the beginning of NATO basically caving into Trump's pressure?
Well, I think some countries are feeling the pressure from Donald Trump, but I have grave doubts about what they're going to be able to do about the Strait. It's actually relatively easy for Iran to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz. As I've said in past interviews, they have thousands and thousands of these drones that can strike the Strait and really wreak havoc. And they can strike the Strait from anywhere inside of Iranian territory. They can also use these speedboats, these unmanned speedboats that can be packed with explosives and operated by remote control. And they have other means. Obviously, they can launch missiles. Mm-hmm. So they can really wreak a lot of havoc. And it was interesting last night, Ehud Barak, former Israeli prime minister, and maybe more importantly, the former chief of staff of the Israeli armed forces, he said that basically militarily, there's not much that anybody can do to reopen the Strait of Hormuz by force in the short term. And increasingly, I think it's interesting that even Israeli media are becoming critical of Donald Trump. They are very sympathetic to Trump overall, but the Times of Israel yesterday published an op-ed that called Trump erratic and said that he is, quote, increasingly desperate. So I thought that was really an interesting commentary.
Indeed, especially coming from an Israeli newspaper. Now, this ultimatum that Donald Trump has issued to Iran, 48 hours or will obliterate.
I mean, you would think that Israel would be like cheering. Like, what you mean? Like, your prime minister has been over here talking about, actually, all of their prime ministers have been talking about war with Iran for years. So they finally get what they want. And what? Like, there's some disgruntled folks in Israel? Well, actually, I'm happy to hear that. I'm actually really happy to hear that. Like, please, because there's a lot of assholes out there that think that all of the Israelis are in on this and it's just one big Israeli conspiracy. No. It's their government. It's the Likud party dragging the Israelis into this war, and that they're suffering most likely the most from. Because I guarantee you, Bibi Netanyahu going to have somewhere to stay after this war, but a lot of Israelis won't, and Lebanese people, and Gazans. But don't worry, though. Bibi always going to have somewhere to stay, but not those people, though. Right?
Energy power plants in Iran. It says we're nearing that ultimatum now, the end of that ultimatum. What do you think is going to happen here? What are the possible scenarios?
Yeah, I mean, this is already.
Oh, shoot. And make sure you guys like the video. 3 of y'all on Facebook. Make sure you go ahead and, hit that like. Appreciate the support, my man. Welcome to the show.
Been a catastrophic war, and this would be another disaster, really, because we've already heard from Iran what they'll do.
But do you think he's likely to carry out that threat? Yeah. Or is that coercive diplomacy?
There are a number of possibilities. So one possibility is that this is just coercive diplomacy, and sometimes Trump does just sort of say things off the cuff, and then he contradicts himself later or doesn't follow through on his promises or his threats. So that is one possibility. Another possibility is that he's going to act on this. And again, this would be disastrous for the region. Another possibility is that he may attack, but in a very limited way, just something sort of symbolic to send a message to the Iranians.
Right.
But I'd like to think that his advisors are going to get into his ear, or that they've already done so, and advise him against this, because this would be catastrophic.
What about Iran, Mohammed Al-Masri? Does it have the capability, the intent, or even the appetite to retaliate against Gulf Arab energy infrastructure in case it was attacked by the U.S.? Will they go ahead and do that, make that threat a reality?
Yeah, I tend to think that we should believe Iran when it says it's going to do something, because it has pretty much followed through on most of its promises or threats since the start of the war. Clearly, they believe that the only way for them to survive is to inflict maximum cost on not just Israel and the United States, but on the region That's their calculation. And so if they're, if the Israelis and the Americans do what they say they're going to do, the Iranians have already been engaged in this kind of tit for tat. We've seen that on a number of occasions. You strike us here, then we'll strike you there.
We've seen that. I mean, we're now on day.
And they seem to be going up the escalation ladder. It's like, all right, well, you start striking civilian infrastructure or civilian places. Well, that's what Iran did, and that's what Israel's doing too. They are going with a tit for tat, and it is a tit for tat type of war. And I mean, here's also the problem too. If Iran stays consistent and keeps on that path, well, yeah, they're going to go ahead and start destroying energy infrastructures in the region if we destroy theirs. If we give their people mass blackout, well, they're going to make sure other people get mass blackouts, just like Cuba's going through a mass blackout. So let's see how it is progressing. I mean, I notice, look, I hate the fact that I got to say this, but I'd rather us look weak on the world stage than cause mass blackout throughout the Middle East, through Iran just decimating, energy infrastructure. That's just me, though. And I get it. I mean, if you're willing to take that risk and say, F them, let them live in the dark while we look strong on the world stage, that's you. But I'm not for that.
Day 24 of the war. Have you seen a shift in the Gulf region, where some countries may now be reconsidering that neutral position they took at the beginning of the conflict and perhaps joining now the war on Iran led by the US and Israel?
I don't necessarily think we should assume that all of the Gulf countries have the same position. I think the UAE should probably be considered on its own. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point to see them join. I would be surprised at this point. Of course, I reserve the right to change my mind. Things are changing pretty dynamically every day. But I would be surprised to see either Saudi Arabia or Qatar or Qatar join in. The UAE, I think, could.
Because I asked because there've been some reports suggesting that the UAE may be now considering to join.
Yeah, I mean, the UAE is already on board with Israel and the United States. They're a part of that axis. They normalized relations with Israel. They were quite sympathetic to Israel, even relatively sympathetic during the genocide in Gaza. So again, we have to look at the UAE sort of differently from some of the other Gulf countries. But I'd be surprised with respect to the Saudis and the Qataris in particular. I think they understand that there would be really long-term ramifications, negative consequences, and also it would be a really bad look, I think, for them to get on board with a war that is being waged by the Israelis and the Americans against a Muslim country, even though they are very critical, obviously, of Iran.
So what options do they have then, these countries, to end this war today?
Well, you'd like to think that they have some leverage over Donald Trump. The UAE, Qatar, and the Saudis pledged about $2 trillion.
Well, yeah.
In investments in the American economy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they've already pledged like $2 trillion together in investments and buying American weaponry. If they cancel that contract, I'm be real with you. A lot of jobs depend on that contract. I'm just gonna say it right there and then. A lot of jobs depend on those contracts. I mean, from steel to aerospace to, of course, your favorite weapons company, Raytheon, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, a lot of jobs will be lost if we don't have that investment. Oh, and guess what? A lot of AI companies are going to go under, too, if they don't have that Middle East investment. So, yeah, I know a lot of people want to sit here and hate Muslims, but they're kind of the reason why our economy is staying afloat and some of the reasons why you guys have jobs. Like, yeah. One of the reasons why you guys have jobs is because of the investment of Muslims. It is what it is, just the way the world works. Funny, huh?
And they could threaten to withdraw those pledges. I think their best option, their best bet, is to try to exert as much pressure on Donald Trump, because he does hold all the cards to end the war. I tend to think that getting involved militarily would backfire against these countries.
I mean, that is true. Look, like Iran could invoke much asymmetric warfare as they want. If Donald Trump doesn't stop and he just says, well, F it, we're just going to take all of it to the chin. Oh, man. I mean, it is what it is at that point. Trump will just keep going. Only Trump can honestly stop this at this point.
But again, I can't get inside their heads.
Yeah, it's a very unpredictable situation, isn't it? Thank you so much, Mohamed Al-Masri, for joining us. Thank you. Good to have your analysis, as always. Mohamed Al-Masri is from the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a turn here, and let's get into, well, actually, no, I did want to play this video too, actually. All right, so IAEA director says no war would destroy Iran's nuclear ambitions unless it's nuclear war. On Face the Nation. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it.
The UN nuclear watchdog agency, the IAEA, says it...
And then we're going to switch over to this DHS drama, because DHS has still been shut down. It's been about 37 days. And, you know, there is a shout out to my partner, Kalshi. There's a trade up there on Kalshi, you know, for how long DHS is going to remain shut down. And they said, what was it, under or over 40 days? Well, you might want to take that over 40 days since we're 3 days away from it, maybe less at this point. Just to get you a little money in your pocket. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Has not detected any raised levels of radiation around nuclear sites that have been targeted by strikes in Israel and in Iran. On Thursday, we spoke with the head of that agency and began by asking him whether Iran's nuclear ambitions can be destroyed through military action.
Well, of course, there has already been a lot of damage done. Last year, 12-day war was, in that sense, quite effective. This time around, I think the focus of the campaign does not seem to be specifically the nuclear facilities, although there have been some hits in Natanz and Isfahan, and also at another place near Parchin, which used to be a facility more related to the weaponization efforts, but back in the early 2000s. So there has been some, but I would say they have been relatively marginal when you consider the overall nature of the military campaign so far. But so going back to your question, there has been a lot of impact on the program. One cannot deny that this has really rolled back the program considerably. But my impression is that once the military effort comes to an end, we will still inherit a number of major issues that have been at the center of all of this. One, most notably, the inventory of enriched uranium at 60%, which is very close to the degree you need to make a bomb. That is going to still be where it is, largely.
Under the rubble.
Under the rubble, and in some cases, no rubble, and somewhere under. And also, importantly, some facilities, infrastructure, equipment, which have...
AKA, what he's pretty much saying is that, well, most likely before the strike on Fordo, well, you know, Operation Midnight Hammer, the Iranians most likely move most of their probably centrifuges and their uranium stockpile to another location, either further underground or just to another underground location. And what he's pretty much saying is that, well, like I said, I've said this before as well, the only way to really get a hand on it or to get a grasp and make sure we can water it down or secure it is to put boots on the ground. We're going to need boots on the ground to secure these locations that are going to be guarded. Like, yes, to secure their nuclear plants, to secure their stockpile, their enriched uranium, we will need boots on the ground. We can't do that from the air. And that's just a fact right there.
Most probably survived some of the attacks. Even they could be damaged, seriously damaged, but that is something that we will only be able to ascertain once our inspectors go back. So
let's talk about that. What I heard you say there is Iran had that nuclear weapons program that in 2003, according to U.S. intelligence, was halted. But as you know, there's this debate over whether Iran's nuclear program actually did have a weapons ambition. You were never quite able to say yes or no.
Well, because we are not analysts or people having opinions. We are the IAEA. So whenever we say something, it has to be based on actual inspection. And the thing is, and continues to be, one, yes, like you say, yes, we haven't seen a systematic program like the AMAD plan with offices, people reporting to people, and an array of places where you are doing stuff. But there were many, many concerning things, many unanswered questions, and especially since 2019, 2020, when I became more or less when I became Director General, where yes, in 2015, in 2016, when the JCPOA, the previous agreement, you remember?
The Obama era nuclear.
Exactly. When that started to be applied, Iran was complying with a number of things, but we started seeing new stuff. We started seeing and getting new elements that gave rise to concerns, and we were talking about them with Iran. And then it came a point, very important point, when I said, you know, in view of this, I have to say that I'm no longer able to say that everything is in order.
Because he's no longer in there. The JCPOA got ripped up. The only reason why Iran was letting these guys in there doing the inspections is because we were abiding by our HAP by lifting the sanctions and all that good stuff. And once we kind of got out of that, that's where they're like, yeah, you guys got to get up out of here. We don't got to abide by it since America ain't abiding by it. And oh yeah, we're also going to start enriching uranium at a higher level than the 3.6% agreed. And, you know, Iran pretty much told them that out the door. And this is where, and then, of course, you know, later on, what was it? Trump killed Soleimani. That's also an escalation. And Iran seen that as pretty much us showing aggression towards them. So they decided to start enriching to 60% to be seen as a deterrent. Now, you go ahead and ask the Fox News and they'll just say, no, they're just going towards a nuclear weapon. It's obvious. But even if they got to the 90% enrichment they need for nuclear weapon, we'd be able to track their building of a bomb and most likely be able to stop it by stopping the movements of the materials. And so they'd be able to get to that 90% enrichment easily. But we'd catch them like week 2 into building the bomb while they're still months out from actually getting the bomb actually built.
Because you were finding uranium in places it wasn't supposed to be because they weren't allowing you unfettered access. You couldn't say clearly one way or the other.
Exactly that.
So let's come back to that. According to what you did know and were able to declare in these IAEA reports, Iran had uranium enriched up to 60%. Weapons grade is 90, as I understand it.
Yeah.
And if that material remains now in Iran after combat ends, will it still have nuclear capabilities if it has the enriched material and the centrifuges?
Well, you remember, and for this, I would quote or partially refer to things that have been said in Iran by Iranians. You remember very important officials saying, we have all the elements of the puzzle. So when this is said, we were telling them this is unhelpful, or at least you should explain what is meant by that. The is a vast program, right? And so, albeit the physical destruction that has been acted upon these facilities, there's a lot going on. And don't forget something, Margaret, when we talk about centrifuges, when we talk about this kind of facilities, this is an activity that can be relatively, I wouldn't say easily, but it is very possible to reconstruct this effort. Is metallurgy, is a sophisticated washing machine. It's nothing, I mean, and you cannot unlearn what you've learned.
Right, you can't bomb away the knowledge. So that capability will exist.
I mean, shit, I mean, you saying that, but like, and trust me, I agree with you, sis, but Israel don't believe in that. Shoot, that's who Israel go after, nuclear scientists and their whole family. Israel will blow up an entire block. Like, they'll blow up 17 other families just to get the family of a nuclear scientist, and of course the nuclear scientists included. They've done it. So, and I mean, she's right. You just can't bomb the knowledge out of Iran. I mean, I know Israel's trying, but I think that's just a reason to bomb civilians, to be quite honest with you.
Exactly, and it was very sophisticated. Let's not forget.
Yeah,
again,
somebody need to tell Israel
referring
that
back
one.
to JCPOA. JCPOA was based or predicated upon a very primitive type of centrifuge. Now Iran has the most sophisticated, fast, and efficient machine that exists. And they know how to make it, and they know. And on top of that, there may be places out there which are not nuclear places. This is why what I say is that we still need to find a framework, an agreed framework that is going to be providing us with the necessary previsibility and sense of a clear idea of where they are, what they want to go.
Because this war will not destroy Iran's nuclear ambitions and capabilities.
I would say anywhere.
So guys, let's make sure you guys like the video, man. We got about 7 of you guys on Rumble, so shout out to Rumble. Make sure you guys like the video on there, and of course, you guys on the horizontal video, make sure you guys hit that like button, and of course, you guys on the vertical, double tap that screen. And guys, make sure to support the show with the super chat, with any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, or once again, you can send in the Venmo. All right. Let's get right back to it.
War.
Unless it was nuclear war and you go for destruction in an unfathomable way, which we hope, of course, will never be the case.
Well, talk to me about the options that we know are being discussed by the United States right now, including President Trump and Israel have talked about the potential of sending special forces in to secure some of this enriched material. You have been to Isfahan. You have seen some of the underground facilities.
Yes.
How difficult would it be to move these cylinders that are there full of chemicals?
We're talking about cylinders containing gas of highly contaminated uranium hexafluoride at 60%. So it's very difficult to handle. So much so that, for example, in terms of this negotiation, we might perhaps discuss that a little bit, that did not bear fruit. One of the things that we were discussing was downblending it because of its difficulty in terms of handling in the scenario, for example, of a ship out of the material, exfiltrating the material. So it is very difficult. Then, of course, I guess there will be a number of decoys, a number of distracting cylinders, materials over there, which would make it very difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible. I know that here there are incredible military capacities to do that, but it would be a very challenging operation for sure.
For military operation to be carried out. Let me just ask you about one other thing. You've said about half the nuclear material was around Isfahan.
But it's a little bit more. There is, but the majority of the material is there, and this is not a secret because I've seen a lot of hype about it. This has been in our reports. The vast majority is there. There is some in Natanz as well, and some other parts.
There's focus on these other undeclared facilities President Trump has brought up. There's a facility called Pickaxe Mountain, for example, that comes up. Are you concerned about those other sites?
We should visit those. They were not operational, so this is why we hadn't. You may remember that on the eve of the June 2025 campaign, Iran announced that they had a new enrichment facility in Isfahan.
Yes.
On that same day, I issued a request for an urgent inspection, which was granted, and the inspectors were there in the morning, late night when the attacks happened. So we never got to see the place. We will have to go there eventually.
Final thought here. Do you think President Trump supports what I heard you say, which is that a military campaign cannot destroy Iran's nuclear program, and that the only way to understand what they're really doing is to be on the ground inspecting it?
Basically, get them into a stricter version of the JCPOA, stricter version of what Obama had them under. And I mean, bro, Trump could do that. That could still be a win because it's a stricter version. They gotta probably only be able to do this much enrichment, and we're gonna have inspectors on the ground. And I'm be real with you. I guess like I said, if this whole thing is about taking care of their nuclear capabilities, then that should have been the first thing we were trying to do. And that's what Iran was trying to do as well. But obviously, we were using duplicitous trade tactics, like moving the goalposts and talking about ballistic missiles and proxies. When I guess this is only honestly, this is only supposed to be about their nuclear capabilities. Remember, when Trump started this argument, it was about Iran will never get a nuclear bomb. Not Iran will never have nuclear enrichment. Like, let's not play dumb here.
And that can't be done by the United States military fully either.
Well, I think, I don't know whether he would endorse this or not, but he has said also that, of course, diplomacy is the preferred option. I think that is encouraging. And we have had a very constructive conversation in the past and now.
Have you spoken to him?
Not to the president, okay. No, I hadn't had the honor. But I was talking to people that I had been talking in the past, and we continue this effort. I think the essence of this is that in the bleakest hour, we should never lose hope.
You can see our extended conversations on our website.
But all right, so you pretty much see what's going on. And it's kind of funny how people say the IAEA, well, they're the ones who said Iran violated their. No, the IAEA never said Iran violated anything, actually. And you've seen the director right here pretty much saying, look, like under the JCPOA, we had all eyes on deck. I mean, and like we figured out they told us they was building a new facility. We asked to see it. They let us see it. And then he also, it was also the no shit point of, you just can't bomb the knowledge of making a bomb or how to enrich uranium out of Iran. You just can't do that. They're always going to have nuclear scientists. And if Israel's goal is to just bomb every nuclear scientist, you might as well just start bombing colleges as well. And please don't do that. Please don't. And the reason, I don't know, but I feel like sometimes you got to say that because Israel might actually see that as a plan. But this goes to show that, yes, Iran has actually did abide by everything that the IAEA wanted them to do. And there were no duplicitous tactics used. The only duplicitous tactics being used in this situation was our negotiation tactics.
On our YouTube channel.
But all right, though, let's go ahead and get over to the next one here. And let's go ahead and switch it up. Let's talk about DHS for a little bit. I know Tom Homan was on CNN.
An agreement to let our country, in particular, President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, if the radical left Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular our airports, be free and safe again, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports where they will do security like no one has ever seen before. Now, in a subsequent post, he said that he instructed ICE agents to be ready by Monday. And now the president is saying that you, sir, are going to be in charge. How is that going to work? Are ICE agents going to move into American airports starting tomorrow, Monday?
Yes. And I'm currently working on the plan now of execution, working with the director of ICE and administrator at TSA, the acting administrator. So we'll put together a plan today and we'll execute tomorrow.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions here. First of all,
so yeah, this has been a bit of a controversial thing that they've been talking about. It's pretty much Trump sending ICE to help out at the airport. I mean, since they're the only agency pretty much getting funded, yeah. The only agency that's getting funded thanks to the big, beautiful bill, and this is why the Democrats are pretty much holding the rest of DHS, hostage. Why? Because they don't want to open up the government unless they can get ICE reform. So they're going to go ahead and use, once again, American people as leverage, which is straight up pathetic. And this is why I'll be real with you. I remember when Sid was coming at me like, so what, you're going to vote Democrat? No. Like, do you see the bullshit that y'all pull? Like, come on, bro. This is not an honorable way to like get your way. I mean, and here's the thing, you can't say that Donald Trump just this evil guy when you're using the duplicitous tactic of, holding American paycheck. Well, be real with you, holding TSA workers' paychecks hostage so y'all can get y'all way. Like, that shit evil.
are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, you know, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, you know, there's got TSA agents covering exits, you know, people that enter through the exits. You know, certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits. And that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening and to reduce those lines. So wherever we can provide extra security, I don't see an ICE agent looking at an x-ray machine because they're not trained in that. There are certain parts of security that TSA is doing that we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs, help move those lines.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So what you're saying is when you move ICE into airports, they're going to be just around the exits and the exteriors. They're not going to be helping people get through the lines and screening people's bags.
Those discussions are going on now. I'm not expert at TSA, so that's why.
AKA, he's like, well, the ICE guys might get some quick TSA training, and yes, you can go to the airport. You might see ICE. Go ahead and do running TSA, since you know the TSA workers are quitting because why, bro? I mean, let's be real. This is like the second time in a row within a year that their paychecks got frozen or held up because of a government shutdown. Yes, people are quitting over this. Oh, and let's not forget the fact that when this Iran war popped off, shit got more expensive for them. Like just driving to work got more expensive for them while the government shut down and they can't get paid. Like, yeah, that's kind of effed up. And I think if the Democrats truly cared, as soon as this war popped off, they'd have been like, look, we're mad at Trump, but we got to go ahead and open up the government. Or, yeah, we got to go ahead and let DHS get paid because it's too much.
I'm talking to the TSA administrator and the ICE director, find out where we can fit in. We'll have a plan by the end of today where we're sending what airports we're starting with and where we're sending them. But that's the discussion we're having right now. I ended the discussion to do the show, and I'll be back having the discussions when I finish. So it's a work in progress, but we will be at the airports tomorrow helping TSA move those lines along.
And I know you said it's a work in progress, but at least at the beginning, are there specific airports that you're thinking about starting with? And how many ICE agents are you considering deploying to do this?
Again, that's going based on discussions we're having today. I think we need to, my opinion is that we concentrate on the airports where the longest waits are. We prioritize those. The large airports with those long wait, like 3 hours. I think we got to prioritize what we do like we do everything else. So again, having those discussions, continued discussions after the show with the leadership of those agencies will lead us to some decisions based on prioritization, where we deploy, how quick we deploy, how many agents we deploy. So right. Hopefully we'll have all those answers here by this afternoon, but we're working on it. And when we deploy tomorrow, we'll have a well thought out plan to execute.
With respect, if you're doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
Again, ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding.
I mean, well, let's be real. The guys at TSA, I mean, come on now. Let's be real. You're acting like these are like some highly trained people here. Like, come on now. They go through training, but it's not like specialized training here. Like anybody can be a TSA agent. You just got to apply at the airport. Or Indeed or something. I mean, let's be honest here. It's not like an ICE agent where you got to have special training or maybe have a history in law enforcement or military work. Like, yeah, that's not TSA. You can train ICE agents to do TSA and they'll do it just fine. It may be a bit intimidating, I guess, but I mean, hey, man, do you want to catch that flight or not? Do you want to be able to go fly without things being held up or not? All right, then get over it and give the nice ICE officer your ticket and your ID. Okay.
Those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? And we're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security, and they're well trained in identification. And look, we're going to do what we can to help TSA move those people through the line.
And last question on this, because this is important, and I realize that this is clearly a plane that you're creating while it's in the air here, but this is a a question that a lot of people are asking. Is it just going to be crowd control, or will ICE officers also be doing immigration enforcement while they are at the airports?
We do immigration enforcement at airports all the time. So is that going to change? It's not going to change. This is about helping the men and women at TSA. They've lost several hundred employees. The lines are really slow because of the shutdown. This is about helping TSA do their mission and get the American public through that airport as quick as they can. Well,
yeah, I did hear about that. Yeah, in LaGuardia. What was it? I was watching what was it, Myron Gaines and his brother's stream, and they actually was reporting on that. It was like, yeah, that actually happened. I think, what was it, bro? We tried to call it cap at first, but trust me, it sounded crazy. But yeah, Air Canada plane hit a fire truck at LaGuardia now. Like, it happened. What was it? I think it happened a couple hours ago. If anything, let me see.
Well, adhering to all the security guidelines and the protocols, we're simply there to help TSA do their job in areas that don't need their specialized expertise, such as, screening through the x-ray machine. Not training that, we won't do that. But there are roles we can play to release TSA officers from the non-significant roles, such as guarding an exit, so they can get back to the scanning machines and move people quicker. And we're just simply helping our fellow officers at TSA.
Hold on, a quick little detour, because shout out to my man, Jet. And like I said, hey guys, if you want to go ahead and suggest a video, you can send it in through a super chat or a Venmo. If you send in a Venmo, just send $5 in for a video. So for a video reaction. If it's on YouTube or Rumble, you gotta be $10 and up. But on Venmo, just $5. But here.
To breaking news out of America now, and an Air Canada plane has reportedly crashed into a fire truck on a runway at LaGuardia Airport in New York. Images on social media show people crowded around a severely damaged plane. There are reports multiple passengers have been injured. We'll bring you more information as it comes to hand.
Well, that's crazy. Let's see here. See what else they got on this here.
949.
Oh, make sure y'all double tap the screen and like the video.
Right on our crash box, we have engine 307 and ladder 154 operating on the runway with port
How did that happen?
for an airplane
On a fire truck too?
with multiple injuries. So we're going to need EMS to continue into this crash box. All other units will be at staging with Port Authority Police until escorted until further notice. We'll get back to you with further particulars.
More closer than LS5.
LS6, I need both of you to respond for this. Hashtag 2, proceed with message.
Hashtag 2 on the runway. We have right now 4 red tag firefighters from PAPD and upwards of 100 patients on board an Air Canada airplane on the runway.
I got 2 yellow tag patients at this time and 1 green tag patient. Do you have resources coming in? Right, conditions 49, the report we received from hashtag 2 prior that's been on scene with 4 red tag firefighters. Could you switch over to TAC, coordinate with hashtag 2 and get back to us on that updated patient count, please?
4, 7, and 154. An airplane that collided with a crash truck for air rescue for S.E.T. Numerous victims at this time. Currently on mass casualty incident. We'll return with further details. Canada report 0002 hours. Time now 0004 hours. Dispatcher 460. Do
you show any other units for 182 yet?
Negative. Just 46 sir.
Once they get up closer on it. Not. Get a little closer. Man, acting like a sucker. All right. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get back to our guy, Tom Holman here. Make sure we keep these people in our prayer, though. Hopefully, did anybody die? I hope not.
I'm going to bring in my panel now to respond to that. Welcome, one and all. Congressman Kiley, I should say the last time you were on the show, you were a Republican. Since then, you've switched your party affiliation to independent as you kind of work through the redistricting in your home state of California. What do you think about the idea of sending ICE to airports?
Well, the lines that people are having to deal with are a problem, a big problem. And so, anything we can do to make travel a little more seamless right now, I think is fine. But that is a very temporary and not ideal solution. What we need to do is fund the Department of Homeland Security.
Exactly. It's like, how about this? Instead of complaining what we have to do for the American people to make things easier on them, because of what the Dems want to close down DHS. Instead of doing all that, why not just open up the damn government? Well, you could always do that, and you don't got to worry about ICE officers then being in the airport. You don't got to worry about none of that. But if you want to keep it closed, then I'm sorry. But if you agree with keeping DHS closed to affect ICE, then you're not allowed to sit here and complain when you have these ICE officers in TSA. I'm sorry, but you kind of got to shut the F up now. Sorry, but you can't have it both ways.
Our TSA agents paid, that'll get our Coast Guard paid, that'll get FEMA funded, and we can do this in a way that reaches a bipartisan compromise around this issue related to ICE. I think there are common sense reforms that both sides can support, but having an unfunded Department of Homeland Security at a moment when we have this heightened threat environment in the United States, it is absolutely unacceptable, and it is such a clear example of how Congress is broken in so many ways.
Congresswoman Dingell?
Well, I agree with you that Congress is broken, but here's the fact of the matter. I have a lot of questions about what he said. Are they going to be wearing masks? What are the functions that they're going to be performing? Are they going to make it more complicated? Are people going to be more scared? Are they going to threaten people? Are people going to start to see people not even willing to travel because they're intimidated by them? Here's the reality. We could settle this tomorrow and fund TSA, FEMA.
They're not going to want to travel because they're intimidated by ICE? What do you, lady, shut up. Shut up. Like, bro, I'm sorry, but you're kind of a softy. I'm real. You're a softy if ICE makes you not want to go fly. Well, I see ICE over there at the door and I'm scared. Wait, are you an illegal? No, but they just look scary, man. Take your suck ass home then and drive there. Okay? We don't care. We don't care. Okay? Just like get over it. I'm sorry. It's either you sit there and you wait 3-4 hours to hop on your flight, or you just got to look at an ICE officer, stare at you menacingly, I guess. I don't know. I guess if you want to sit there and imagine it like that, but at least you didn't get held up in TSA because of what? The shutdown? Like, here we're trying to make some things work here since y'all don't want to make the Democrats take responsibility for this. So excuse us. I mean, it's kind of like, what was it? It's the best option with a shitty situation. Y'all want to keep it shut down, Dems. If that's what you think, if that's what y'all think is y'all best options, then you just can't sit there and complain about ICE being in the airports. I'm sorry, but you kind of lost that argument.
Which, by the way, got gutted a year ago, not in this funding of Homeland Security by DOJ, and fund the Coast Guard and deal with the ICE issue, which has to be dealt with front and center.
Yeah, look, I think I associate myself with the gentleman's from California's comments, right? I think he's spot on. Look, Congresswoman, Tom Homan was up on the Hill negotiating, trying to get this bill passed in the Senate. You've seen the White House give on lots of things, cameras, identification on ICE. The White House has given and given and given. Fact of the matter is, Chuck Schumer is just a chicken shit, I'll say it, because he's concerned that he's not going to be the majority leader, doesn't want to pass anything that doesn't just blow up ICE. And so that's why we're stuck here. It's not anything to do. Everybody knows what has to be done. Chuck Schumer won't allow it to be done in the Senate. And that's where we are. American people, call the Senate, complain to Chuck Schumer, tell him to pass the bill now.
That's not.
100% true. 100% accurate.
Well, I like to align myself with the Congresswoman. Surprise, surprise. Look, in what world do you think it's really a good idea for ICE to be at airports? And what,
I mean, in the world where you guys shut down all of DHS because you can't get at ICE, in that world right there, that's where it's a good idea to bring in ICE. Yeah, that world that we're living in right the F now, sadly.
world do you think the American public actually want that? When they have seen
in a world where the American public don't want to be inconvenienced by a government shutdown, in that world right there, actually the world that we're living in right now.
seen how ICE has behaved in cities, Republican and Democrat. Donald Trump and this administration is underwater with their immigration policies. Yes, they like how the border is being handled. They do not like how ICE is in their cities, and they sure won't like how ICE will be in their airports.
Look, I'm gonna stand on this point right here. It's not that I don't like how ICE is handling themselves in their cities. The problem is that these cities are not, well, not the cities, but Minneapolis is not working with ICE. They're not letting the local authorities provide crowd control and keep the protesters out of ICE's business or from instructing ICE investigation or a police scene. And that's what went down with, well, Alex Preddy and what was it her name? Renee Good. Both of those situations was because both of them wanted to obstruct law enforcement, and because the city didn't want to go ahead and get, what was it, the National Guard involved. They didn't even want to get local police involved. And the reason they didn't want to get local police involved was because, well, they radicalized the people of Minnesota against, or the people of Minneapolis against ICE. They're willing to attack them, and they know that they put their local police officers out there. The protesters are going to start attacking local police officers, doxing them too, and hunting them down in their own damn city.
Especially when they're still going to have to wait in line with them there and them being fearful. This is not good politically. This is not good policy, and this is not good politically. That's my free advice. But the reality is, the reason what the Congresswoman was saying is, I think Americans are just like, can we just let's take this piecemeal. TSA, pass it. If you obstruct TSA, I will have a problem with you. I don't think anybody on our side would actually obstruct it. Let's fund FEMA. No, we all have Schumer. I would.
Chuck Schumer would
not fund,
not supported
oppose
bills. We've got a discharge petition to fund the other three. And are you going to? I want to give you.
Oh, guys, make sure to like the video, guys. And if you have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, go ahead and super chat it in, or you can go ahead and rumble rant it in if you're on Rumble. And also, let's not forget to like the video if you haven't already. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
One simple issue. The Constitution. Do you believe in the Constitution?
Of course I do.
And warrants? Do you not think
no. Hold on. No, the warrant issue is completely, that's a red herring because.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is, ma'am. The Constitution has, these immigration officials, when they're going in these specific things, there are administrative procedures that allow them to go in. They're not going in without authorization. There's there's law that allows them to do this without a warrant in those instances. And listen,
well, yeah, because I'm gonna explain it a little better than him. When they have these administrative warrants, it's attached to a court ordered removal. What was it? What's it called? A law of removal. I'm trying to remember what's still called again. Well, it's pretty much removed to a court order removal of that undocumented immigrant, pretty much. So they have an administrative warrant that is attached to a court order of removal for this undocumented immigrant. So what they're saying that, oh, well, this doesn't have the okay from the courts. Well, actually it does. The only reason they have this administrative warrant is because it's attached to a court order removal for this undocumented immigrant.
And listen, ICE agents here, Tom Homan, Barack Obama gave Tom Homan an award. Tom Homan is going to run this professionally. He's trying to help Americans get to where they're doing, eliminate the lines, alleviate American suffering. ICE isn't going to be there. The ICE
but he said he wasn't changing any policy.
So on this warrant issue, I'll say that I actually voted for a judicial warrant requirement in order to enter homes. I've also voted to say we should have agreements so that ICE is not operating near childcare centers or near schools. I think, and I've also supported, by the way, though, making sure that local jurisdictions honor detainer requests when they come for ICE for people who have committed crimes in addition to be in the country illegally. So I think that is the sort of compromise we need around this issue. I think that the things I just listed are supported by the vast majority of Americans. And so we need Congress to come together to reflect what the American people are asking.
And if anybody thinks that ICE is going to be with masks and like they're going to be they look like
how do we know?
TSA agents.
We don't know though.
Okay, well, show up at DSA tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow.
But listen, this is the thing. It's like this is also what blew my mind this Sunday morning. Is he's like, we haven't figured out the plan. We'll figure it out by tonight. Do you know how many airports are in America? Do you know how much
ones we're even going to? They don't know
how much
I'm sure
training
Tom
these ICE agents should have before they actually go. What are we doing?
I'm sorry, but it doesn't take that much training to. Oh yeah, can I get your boarding ticket and your ID? Thank you. There you go. Oh yeah, can you please go through this scanner? Thank you. Oh, it beeped. Oh, can you come over here so I can warn you? I mean, ma'am, It's not that hard. I'm sorry, it really isn't.
President Trump has said that if this is not resolved, he's sending ICE to the airports to fill in for TSA. Now, I'm not asking you to comment on the political element of this, but what's the training necessary to do that job effectively? How long does it take? How involved is it?
Bruh.
So to become a TSO, we have to go to FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Camp. That's about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on your program. And then afterwards, you have about 2 additional months of training on the floor. We learn X-ray operations. We learn how to work, our walkthrough, metal detectors. There's a lot of ins and outs.
I'm sorry, but like, you're not really too different from like a security guard. What? I don't know, like at a factory. Like, to be honest with you, you're not too different from those guys. 2 weeks, though, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I said, the ICE, yeah. If you're just telling us that, well, we need to train to be used, what, a walkthrough scanner and what, an X-ray? Like, come on now, come on. Okay? I mean, all right. If you want to make this job sound more complicated than it is, please, let's hear it again.
How long does it take? How involved is it?
I mean, bro, you could tell the job ain't that hard, lady. You're not in shape. I mean, please tell me how it's such a hard job and your ass doing this shit and you're not even in shape. Like that, make sense. But okay.
Is it?
So to become a TSO, we have to go to FLETC, Federal Law Enforcement Training Camp. That's about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on your program. And then afterwards, you have about 2 additional months of training on the floor. We learn X-ray operations. We learn how to work, our walkthrough, metal detectors. There's a lot of ins and outs of becoming a TSO. Those officers are not trained to do so. They're ICE. They're federal law enforcement in a different spectrum.
And so what's your degree of concern if that is what it comes to, that there will be ICE officers there doing the job of training TSOs?
I think it's going to be terrible in all retrospects because, one, the fear-mongering, the aggression, they're cops at the end of the day. That's a whole other type of training. We're taught to be more so customer friendly. We're taught to be more so understanding of.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. They're also federal agents as well. So, and here's the thing, federal agents or law enforcement officers can transition to work or to work with TSA. Like, so this is all legal, actually. This is all within legality. But let's see here. Was it transportation security officer or federal employees who undergo intensive training, including a 2 to 3 week at a federal law enforcement training center? And let's see, Glyco, Georgia, followed by months of on-the-job training. While TSOs are not typically federal agents or law enforcement agents, federal agents, aka ICE officers or law enforcement officers, can transition to work or work with TSA. Like, why? Well, because they're probably a little bit more, I don't know, more trained than TSA in a lot of things. But let's see here. Training procedure, recruiters learn screening techniques, which law enforcement and federal agents learn as well. CTO, yeah, okay. Now the X-ray operation, that may where they get, that's where they might just need the TSA guys for. But you're really telling me they need that much training to grab a boarding pass and an ID? Like I said, they're really trying to make this harder than it really is. But okay.
Those concerns, law enforcement, that's not their realm.
Let me ask you, I mean, it's a peculiar question to ask as we're talking about people who are not being paid, but I read that you did this because you wanted to serve your country. Do you miss it? Do you miss the job?
Absolutely, I do. I miss the purpose. I think we've gotten away from the narrative of what we were there for and what TSA was created for. It gave me a purpose to put on my badge, to put on my uniform, to be proud to serve my community. And I feel like we've gotten away from that.
Now, I don't know about that. If you ain't working there now, obviously you was just doing it for the check, which is understandable. I get it. Like, I ain't even mad at you, sis. But just don't try to act like, oh, I was just this patriot and I love America so much. All right, then you would still be there helping your fellow Americans get through this time of need. They need you more than ever now, but you ain't there. So obviously you're doing this for the check, and that's respectable. But just be honest about it.
This will help ease the chaos. Borders Czar Tom Homan says agents are ready to step in.
The president's made it clear. He's not going to let America be held hostage anymore. We're going to try to move those lines quicker, give TSA support. They're our brothers and sisters on the DHS. And we simply need to get these officers paid. But until then, the president came up with a great idea. Let's send additional resources to the airports.
Let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former DHS deputy assistant secretary. Kind of ironic, it seems to me, Jonathan. Democrats are holding funding back from TSA because they're angry at the president over past actions of ICE, but ICE is funded. So now they're taking it out on the poor TSA agents, right?
Exactly. That is the irony here that I think is important for the people to know. ICE is being funded fully. These agents are getting paid, and the Democrats are punishing other people that have nothing to do with this issue with ICE whatsoever. So it really is ironic. But I do think, Tom Homan made the point, it is a good move because the current situation cannot stand, because not only we have the 3-hour delays in some places, and we have an economic burden coming to, I think, a lot of, airlines and other types of things. But the most important thing, particularly with what's going on with Iran right now, is we need to have strong security at our airports. And one of the most important things with security is the impression that we are on top of our game and that there are no weaknesses. So adding more law enforcement to the airports during this time will reduce not only the chaos, but also increase our national security. So I think it's a good move. Ultimately, this has to get resolved, but I don't think the president is going to be pushed into a corner by the Democrats. And a lot of their demands really amount to trying to prevent ICE from deporting people.
Yeah, we know that when millions of people just kind of walked into the country under the Biden administration, there are among them people who came from countries like Iran that don't like us very much. And certainly if the Iranians perceive this to be a time of TSA weakness, they might try to, sneak through and do something, right?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And remember why we're going through all of these lines. A lot of us remember flying before 9/11. And that was, we learned that there was a vulnerability that our adversaries, our enemies saw the vulnerability, took advantage of it, and 3,000 people died. So, yeah, it's very important to show that we're strong, we're on top of our game, and we're not going to let politics put our national security, our public safety at risk. And that's what President Trump is doing here. And then the additional benefit will be alleviate the lines, because we don't want to.
And like I said, Dems, if you don't like the fact that they're going to start bringing in ICE agents into the airport, all right, cool. Go talk to your senator who you voted in, that's a Democrat, and go tell them, open up this government. Let's get these TSA agents paid so we don't got to sit there and look at ICE officers. If y'all don't want to look at them, then like I said, just start funding the government back again, and all will be well. I don't really see anything wrong with that plan. It sounds like you're getting everything you want right there.
Essentially shut down our economy, prevent people from flying, because this is a major deterrence to this inconvenience. But again, the most important thing is public safety. And we had this murder in Chicago last week by an illegal alien, which just shows how important ICE's core mission of deporting illegal aliens, particularly criminals, is to overall public safety.
So the American people are putting up with these horrific lines at airports, missing flights and so forth. Even airlines are cutting back on their flights because, they know that the people just aren't going to make it on board. The transportation secretary is saying this is all because one side of the aisle is playing politics. Listen.
It's leverage. Democrats want to see long lines at airports as leverage. President Trump's trying to take that leverage away and not make the American people suffer. The president's looking around every corner to make sure the American people don't suffer during the shutdown.
You might have heard in Dana Marie's segment, Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, saying that these ICE agents are untrained. And he even suggested, and I'm not kidding for people who are just turning in, he even suggested that ICE agents might kill people in the airports. What do you say to that?
you know, he always tries to seek out the new low for rhetorics, but these are highly trained agents that will make people safer. And the bigger picture is the Democrats really are using this for leverage in such a cynical way, because remember, their beef is with deportations, and they've done everything possible to prevent deportation since the beginning of the Trump administration. And their actions have gotten more and more extreme as President Trump has been successful in his immigration mission. Remember, we had over 2 million people self-deport last year. We have a record low murder rate. And a lot of this has to be attributed to President Trump.
I always would say when, you know, liberals like say, yo, you guys didn't even deport that much people. Well, I mean, shoot, you're right, but look how many people self-deported. That's the numbers you actually need to look at. We have about over 1 million people who self-deported than who we actually had to go out there and grab to deport them. And I mean, here's the thing. This is why I say Dems can never really get mad that we're out here snatching these people up and deporting them. Why? Because we offered a nice way already. And we even gave you an app. We gave them an app to do it the nice way. Here, go on this app, self-deport, we'll give you some money, you hop on that plane and you leave. And we'll let you back in, or we may let you back in if you take that route. But if you don't, we're going to come out there, we're going to find you, we're going to snatch your ass off the street, and we're going to deport you. Like, and then you won't be able to come back. I'm sorry, but you can't get mad when we offered a nice way.
Focus on crime, but also focusing on deporting the most serious criminals. But the Democrats, again, they're using it for leverage, and it's so cynical because they're putting these TSA agents, making these people miss mortgage payments, make them have to go to food pantries, and they're also putting public safety at risk to achieve something they couldn't achieve at the ballot box and haven't been able to achieve in Congress either. So again, it's cynical, but President Trump is doing the right thing because we have to keep our airports safe and keep people flying.
I'll give him that one because, like, let's be real, they're going to be the only ones motivated to do it since they're the only department getting paid under the Department of Homeland Security. So why not? And like I said, if the Dems have such a big problem with it, then allow funding to back into DHS. If not, then all right, then allow the ICE officers to, well, take over the job of TSA and let that be that.
Our expert congressional reporter Chad Pergram told us yesterday that you cannot tie the salaries of members.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? What? Somebody got to get x-rayed and what? They didn't do the x-raying right. Now he has cancer. Well, damn. I mean, if that's going to happen, I don't know. Maybe y'all got a point. But I'm sorry. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, what? Give me a boarding pass. Let me see that ID. Go through the scanner and it's all good. And yo, if you bleep a couple times, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wand your ass. And if it gets too bad, we got to take it to the back and do a bit more of an extensive search. Not that hard, but it is what it is.
Of Congress to the funding that other government employees get, because that would be unconstitutional. But what if you suggested that the staff members of senators and congressmen would not get paid as long as people like TSA agents are not paid? They had to walk into empty offices. That might get their attention. Do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think they should have to suffer somewhat as well, like these members of Congress. And, you know, I hate to say their staffs because they're probably people that are paycheck to paycheck in many respects, but they get to make these decisions. And then the rest of the people, and particularly these TSA agents that are doing a hard job and in many respects a thankless job, and they're living without paychecks. So yeah, everyone should have to suffer, and particularly these people in Congress that don't seem to particularly care. And they also get these benefits of getting to cut lines at the airport as well. And that should end certainly right away.
Yeah, because their salary don't get paused because it's part of mandatory spending, which it should be discretionary. Because I mean, like, yo, it's kind of crazy how the TSA guys can get their paychecks paused, but not these senators and politicians. And I'm just like, that's not fair. I mean, let them, like, they should also have some skin in the game too. When they shut down the government, they should also be affected too. I mean, bro, not only should their paycheck be paused, but any type of donor money should also be paused as well. And I guarantee you they never shut down the government again. They start working things out every single time. I bet you that.
Way if it's not already.
7 weeks without pay for the TSA so far.
7
Jonathan
weeks.
Fahey, it's good to have you on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News.
Bro, while gas prices are going up and these guys ain't getting no money to go to work, and gas prices is going up. Man. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and take a bit of a comedic interlude with what was it? I think Iran is over here making these damn Lego videos, and I ain't gonna lie, they are kind of funny. Let's check one of them out. God damn it, they're out here making AI Lego videos. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. AI Lego videos. Who'da knew? Huh. Well, but all right, let's go over to this guy, Chris Murphy. Let's get over to this guy. Chris Murphy says, ending Iran war is the only way to lower energy prices. Boy, MAGA begs to differ. They thinking that we can keep this war out and eventually prices is going to get cheaper. Apparently, that's their thought process, or that is going to end within the next coming days. Hopefully, they're right. I'd love to be called a panicking again. Why not? No, really, I'm dead ass. I would love to be wrong about this, and they say, "Set, you were just being a panicking again." I'm like, you know what? You're right, guys. Thank God.
Welcome back, and joining me now is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Senator Murphy, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I want to start with Iran. The Pentagon, as I was just discussing with the Treasury Secretary, is planning to ask Congress for more than $200 billion in additional funding for the war. Most Democrats have vowed that they're not going to approve this funding request. But by opposing this request, are you risking potentially leaving American forces vulnerable?
I thought that was a really scary appearance by the Treasury Secretary. This administration has totally lost touch with reality. This war is spinning out of control. Prices are spiking for millions of Americans. There's a new war breaking out between Israel and Lebanon. Oil assets of our allies are continuing to be hit in the region. There's no end in sight.
I'm actually glad he mentioned that, because a lot of people, especially right-wing media, is not even willing to mention what's going on in Lebanon. Like, literally, Fox News, News Nation, all right-wing media is literally ignoring what's going on in Lebanon, and the fact that Israel is bombing the hell out of them and bombing civilian infrastructure as well and displacing over 1 million citizens. Like, all for the sake of trying to take out Hezbollah. Like, that they're unsuccessfully doing. That they haven't done it. They're nowhere near doing it. But I'll tell you what they have done: displaced millions. Well, hundreds of thousands. They've displaced about a million Lebanese people.
The Secretary of Treasury just said we're going to escalate in order to de-escalate. It's like they've never read a history book. That's exactly what our war leaders said in the middle of Vietnam and the 20 years of mismanagement in Afghanistan. We need to end this war. The only way you are going to get prices down here in the United States, the only way that you are going to bring peace to the region is by ending this war. And it may be that the quickest way we can do that is by denying them the funding that they need to perpetuate this war, which is increasingly out of control.
Well, remember, guys, they asked for $200 billion extra dollars. $200 billion extra dollars, and mainly probably because to keep the defenses up, because it's getting a bit expensive to defend ourselves against, well, drones. So I actually agree with him. I do agree. I'm just like, bro, if we just sit there and say, look, you're not going to get this $200 billion, you need to find a way to end this war, because if we just keep giving you money, you're not going to want to end this war. You're going to keep it going.
Let me ask you, though, because the war is underway. You have argued, and I'll put this quote, we need to end this war right now. If the U.S. ends the war right now, as you're arguing for, could that leave Iran with a more extreme anti-American regime and even lead to a potentially larger conflict for the next administration?
I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. We already got that. But what do you want to do? Risk it to get an even more extreme guy? I mean, yes, the guy that's the Ayatollah right now just had his father, mother, and daughter killed. He's I mean, do we want to find somebody who's worse? Because if we're not too good at this. And yes, killing the Ayatollah probably wasn't the best idea, since now we got a more extreme hardliner. And God forbid he lifts the religious fatwa, or they will be racing towards a nuke. And I mean, we're really going to have to start bombing them at that point.
But the administration has already said their goal is not regime change. They are perfectly satisfied to leave in charge of Iran a regime that is going to be worse for American interests than the previous regime. What we know is that the minute we stop bombing, this new regime is going to start rebuilding their missile capacity and their drone capacity. The estimates are that it'll only take them a handful of months to reconstitute that threat. So what did we get at the end?
And that's true, because Iran are building like what? Over thousands of drones a month, and they're building hundreds of missiles a month, like 200 or 300 missiles a month. And we're talking about 2,000 and maybe 3,000 drones a month, maybe more than that. Actually, they might be rivaling Ukraine's output of drones.
Of this war, we're going to waste billions of dollars. We're going to get dozens, if not hundreds, of Americans killed. We're going to start new conflicts in the region. And when it's all said and done, a more provocative regime is going to be in charge with the same military capacities. This is nonsensical. This is what happens when you put real estate developers and talk show hosts in charge of American national security.
Just to be very clear, you are a no on any funding request.
I'm absolutely a no on any funding request. I mean, every single day, this war makes less and less sense. We're going to give Iran $14 billion to fund this war with the United States. We're going to give Russia billions of dollars to fund their war with Ukraine. We're literally putting money into the pockets of the very nations that we are fighting right now. Like, we've never seen this level of incompetence in war making in this country's history. And frankly, we've had a lot of incompetence.
I mean, he got a point. He does got a point. It's like, hold on. We were over here trying to economically strangle Russia, but now because we started this war that we can't find an off-ramp on, now Russia can go ahead and sell their oil sanction-free for 30 days? Like, what? Like, now we can't even make the argument for, oh, we're trying to help the Ukrainians. What you mean? We're helping Russia fund their war machine. And then we're doing the same thing with Iran. Iran's out here trying to make people pay $2 million to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, and you can't be a U.S. ally as well. So, like, bro, this war is like literally helping our enemies. Like, what's going on here?
But it's in war making.
Well, speaking of my conversation with the Treasury Secretary, he said all options are on the table. When I asked him about
I get people want to believe in the 4D chess, but like, oh, they're hurting China and all this good stuff. But really, that's just making China honestly rely more on Iran and Russia. And then, like I said, Russia's now able to set their oil sanction free. They're making money. Iran's making money. And these were the two places that we wanted to make no money, that we were trying to economically collapse. Now look at us. We completely went backwards on that.
Ground troops. Is there any scenario where you would support putting U.S. boots on the ground in Iran?
Never. That would be a mistake of colossal proportions. And the American public doesn't want this war, right? If we're going to spend $200 billion, they want that money to be spent on them. Think of what we could do with $200 billion here at home. We could make sure that...
Oh, guys, make sure and double tap that screen and like the video. And if you're on the horizontal, make sure you hit that like button. It's free. Appreciate the support. And let's keep it going. If you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, go ahead and send it in the super chat. Appreciate the support.
None of the 20 million Americans that are getting a health insurance increase because of Trump's policies have their premiums raised. We could rebuild schools in every neighborhood across this country. The fact that this president is so focused on Iran and Venezuela, has no interest in helping people here at home, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
You heard me ask the secretary about the decision to loosen oil sanctions.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's going to turn a lot of people off to Trump. The fact that, you're watching prices go up. And bro, we're watching prices go up on a war that's making prices go up, and you want us to be okay with the fact that you're asking for more money for this war that's making it harder on your everyday American? You expect your everyday American to be okay with that? Keep on sponsoring a war with our taxpayer dollars, by the way, that's making life harder on us. You got to be insane to think that's like going to work. Like, you got to be insane to think that people are just going to accept that.
On Iran and Russia, he said that money was going to go to China anyway. He argues these are temporary moves that are ultimately going to bring down pressure on the supply of the global oil markets. Are you supportive of those moves if ultimately they do, in fact, lower the cost of oil?
The only way to lower energy prices is to end this war. I mean, what he told you is that Iran was getting discounted prices previously from China, and we are now removing sanctions so that they can get premium prices. So we are literally putting billions of dollars into the very regime that we are fighting. Again, no matter how badly we fought the war in Iraq or Afghanistan or in Vietnam, I don't think at any point during those wars we were literally handing the enemy cash with which to fight our troops. I mean, we've just never seen anything like this. The quickest way to lower energy prices is to end this war and get this president focused on this country.
Well, let me talk to you about the shutdown. President Trump is threatening to put ICE agents in airports as early as Monday, as we're seeing these long TSA lines, as TSA agents call out sick or don't show up to work because they're not receiving a paycheck amidst this partial government shutdown. Does that threat make you more inclined to end this shutdown?
Well, why don't they just reopen TSA? Why don't we just reopen the Coast Guard and FEMA? Democrats have been clear. We are willing tonight to provide the votes to open up every part of the Department of Homeland Security while we resolve our narrow differences on how ICE is terrorizing our communities. So almost every single day last week, Democrats went to the Senate floor and said, let's open up ICE. Republicans said no. Let's open up the Coast Guard. Republicans said no.
Republicans said that no. We want all of DHS open. We don't want a partial open of DHS. We want a full open of DHS. And that's the problem. Is like, you guys understand that you're holding Americans hostage, and instead of just conceding and being like, all right, fine, we're opening up all of DHS, you would be like, well, how about we just give funding to TSA? Or how about we just give a partial open, give funding to TSA and, Border Patrol, or the Coast Guard, give partial opening. That's not going to work. Just open up all of DHS and stop playing around. Like, I know y'all trying to save face by having a partial open, but come on now, stop trying to hold Americans hostage.
Want to hold TSA hostage so that they can continue getting Democrats to fund the illegality happening at ICE. Let's just isolate our difference. Let's not hold TSA hostage any longer.
Well, during the previous shutdown in the fall, you criticized the 8 Senate Democrats who broke ranks to negotiate an end to the shutdown with Republicans. You said they capitulated and lost the, quote, political advantage. Do you see this shutdown ending in the exact same way, with moderates effectively saying, time to end this, time to make a deal with Republicans?
Well, I hope the Democrats stay together on a very simple principle, which is we swore an oath to the Constitution to uphold the law. And right now, ICE is operating lawlessly. No matter who's in charge, they are rounding up legal immigrants, denying them their rights. They are still terrorizing American citizens. They are abusing protesters who are standing up to this illegal activity. So until we get commitments from the administration that ICE is going to behave legally, yes, I believe the Democrats should stand together.
No, here's the problem. ICE is behaving legally. The problem is y'all let protesters behave illegally. You let them follow cops around. You literally promote them to go ahead and try to dox these people. So yeah, it's not ICE that's acting illegally. It's the protesters that are acting illegally who's trying to obstruct ICE operations. Like, if you guys can get the local law enforcement and, maybe some politicians to clamp down on that, then yeah, ICE, there wouldn't be no problems with ICE. But the problem is you're letting these protesters turn into obstructionists. And that's just, I'm sorry, but you just can't sit there and blame ICE for that. That's asinine. You're not willing to sit there and put these protesters in check, then you can't sit there and blame what ICE has to do. Like, let's be real. There's no way that There's no way Renee Good should have been able to stand in the middle of the street, not stand, but park her car in the middle of the street, honk her horn, and think that she had the right to do that. There's no way that she should have thought it was okay for ICE officers to tell her to get out the car, even going as far as putting their hand inside her car. She thinks it's okay to pull off. Like, That should have never happened. She should have never thought it was okay. And local police should have got her off the road before ICE did. But nobody wants to sit there and admit that for some reason. Alex Preddy. Yeah, local police should have been there to stop Alex Preddy and push them back. And that old lady, that Custom Border Patrol pushed on Custom Border Patrol officer pushed on the ground, which I didn't like seeing either. But when Alex Preddy walked up to the officer and put his hands on him, he kind of sealed his fate right there. And that's just the way law enforcement works, no matter where you're at in America. Because I ain't gonna lie, some other countries, that might have been the last time you touched an officer. You'd have been cooked.
We have an obligation to not fund an agency that is acting this lawlessly.
And to the point, leadership is, of course, leading the charge here. And there's a lot of focus on Chuck Schumer right now. The Wall Street Journal reporting that there's growing frustration with Chuck Schumer, which spurs talk of replacing him. Senator, do you want to replace Leader Chuck Schumer?
Well, I think we are united right now as a caucus. There's always a lot of focus on Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries. Those are very hard jobs, especially at a historic moment like this.
That's not a yes.
Well, no, we are
because they have no leadership. That's the problem. The only thing these guys do is try to go against Trump, but don't have no real plan. It's like, oh, well, we hate Trump's economic plan. All right, cool. You got a good one because the one that Biden had wasn't a good one. No, we don't, but we just want to criticize Trump. Okay, then shut the F up. I mean, oh, well, Trump's doing bad on affordability. Well, yeah, you guys are doing terrible on affordability. Well, I mean, under Biden, this is the reason why we're in this hole. So do you have a plan? No, but Trump bad. All right, then shut the F up. Like, nobody want to keep hearing from people who just have nothing but criticism, but no plan. At a certain point, it gets annoying.
United as a caucus right now. Let me just be clear about that. We are united in ending this war. We are united in reining in the lawlessness of ICE, and we're going to be united in winning the election this November. So right now we are together as a caucus.
So if you do win the election, would you vote to keep him as leader?
Well, listen, I think he has a very tough job. And right now you are seeing the Democratic caucus united. That's really important.
Very quickly, your reaction to President Trump saying he's glad former special counsel Robert Mueller is dead?
I mean, it's just disgusting. It's so heartbreaking that we have a president who's cheerleading the death of American citizens. The fact of the matter is Robert Mueller is amongst many who have been trying to hold this president to account. He's the most corrupt president in the history of the country. And of course, he is going to wish for the death of the people that are trying to hold him accountable to the law. But that doesn't make it any less disgusting.
All right, Senator Chris Murphy, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being here. I know you're here working in Washington. Appreciate your being here in person.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
And all righty. All right, guys. Got another funny video for you guys. So let's go ahead and get right into the funny video.
A team! Sean! We're going to war, soldier! Well, you are, not me. It's time to get boots on the ground!
It's Jeffrey's War. Are you a pathetic gooner looking for love?
Aren't we all? Well, we've got plenty of ladies.
And they're just waiting for liberation.
All you have to do is beat our challenge. It's time to roll the die on your lives. Let's see what these boys won. It's crippling PTSD and higher gas prices. A brand new luxury casket. You answered C, and you are correct. Do you have what it takes to play with Jeff Gray?
We want you to play Jeffrey's War. Check your local TV listings.
A team.
All right. I'm done. All right, I'm calling it a night on that one, guys. I think I've been clowning around enough. But all right, guys, make sure you guys go ahead and double tap that screen and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate the support, guys. This is Set with Set Media. I'm going to go ahead and leave out from a word from my partner, Kalshi. Make sure you get in on that deal by using the promo code Set Media when you go ahead and sign up for Kalshi. Make sure you go ahead and type in that promo code Set Media. Appreciate the support, guys. Peace. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market. people trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people, kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader? And will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi.